Good evening, and welcome to the Town Council meeting of Monday, December 19th, 2022, here at 7:03 p.m. in the McKinnon Council Chambers. Relative to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, and for the benefit of the public, this meeting is being recorded by both video and audio methods. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 2 is roll call.
Councillor Adams?
Present.
Councillor Daniel?
Present.
Councillor Dow? Absent.
Excused.
Councillor Lazo?
Present.
Councillor Marchetti?
Present.
Councillor Montigny?
Present.
Councillor Rivas?
Present.
Councillor Ryan?
Absent.
And Councillor Steves.
Present. Item number 3. Consider and accept the special town council meeting minutes of Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Lazo, a second by Councilor Adams. Any corrections, deletions, additions?
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor Steves.
The version that I have has a whole bunch of just councilor names all over the place.
That's correct. We didn't have the names for that meeting, and rather than fudge it, we said we'd leave them blank for the time being.
Oh, okay.
So if anyone can help out
That's right.
on the council, you're more than welcome to help out.
For number for second. I don't remember offhand.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 4, consider and accept the town council meeting minutes of Monday, December 5th, 2022.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilor Adams, second by Councilor Steves. Any corrections, additions, deletions? There being none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 5, subcommittee reports. General Government, Council Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have not met recently. However, I'm in the process of organizing a meeting with Hannah for sometime early, the first week of January.
Thank you very much. Department of Public Works, Councilor Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, we had a subcommittee on December 13th at 6 p.m. in the Veterans Room. We voted to confirm the town manager's appointment of Jason Benoit, new DPW director, which is on agenda item number 13 tonight. We voted to confirm town manager appointment of Ray Coyette, seasonal snowplow driver, and that's agenda item number 14 tonight. We voted to confirm town manager appointment of David Daly, seasonal snowplow driver. That's agenda item number 15 tonight. We voted to increase the hourly rate for seasonal snowplow drivers plus overtime, retroactive to 12/13/22. That's agenda item number 16 tonight. We voted to accept the updated winter parking ban routes for 2022-23, and that's agenda item number 17 tonight. And we approved the contract with Guaranteed Building Maintenance to repair the town hall roof, and that's agenda item number 19 tonight. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 4th, 2023 in the Veterans Room, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Education and Human Services, Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. We had a meeting, and it was really just an update on the school committee at first, but there's one item on here later tonight about a proposal for consulting. Thank you.
Very good. Planning and Development, Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, we had a meeting on December 14th. Agenda items number 28 through 30 are on tonight's agenda, discussed at that point. Our next meeting is January 4th, 6 p.m. in the Veterans Room, and just ARPA is agenda item number 31, which I'll explain later on. Thank you.
Very good. Protection of Persons and Property, Councilor Lazo.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you, we had a meeting. We will be having recommendations on agenda item 10, 11, 12, 20 through 26. Thank you.
Very good. Item number 6, Chairman's announcements. I have 2 short announcements. Number 1, I'd like to thank the DPW for the work they did in the first storm of the season. Fine work, very simply said, very easy to say. They did a good job, and I'm pleased to be able to give them kudos for the work that they did. Number 2, I received word from I had asked the fire chief for some information regarding grants, because it seems like he's been coming forward with a lot of grant information lately. And for the fiscal years 20, 21, and 22, I believe, depending on what happens tonight, he's received over $500,000 worth of grant monies, which come to the town, to the fire department, and to the town as a whole. And I'd just like to give him kudos for coming up with that kind of change. That's very good. Thank you. And last but not least, I'd like to say happy holidays to the citizens of town, and wish you all a very healthy and blessed holiday season and coming new year. That's all I have. Item number 7, Town Manager's announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, those who are here in the chamber, as well as those watching at home. A few minutes ago, Mr. Gregoire of Whitewater, who is our water contractor, informed me that at approximately 6 p.m. there was a water main break near 300 Ashland Ave. We have crews on site right now assessing the situation and starting to repair, which will go into the overnight hours. He wanted me to let the public know that at some point tonight, water will be turned off to make these repairs. The affected area will be from the area of 250 Ashland Ave, continuing southerly on Route 131 towards Dudley. This will affect the entire Tillier Ave neighborhood area, as well as the Hunters Ridge development. They are asking for the patience of the affected citizens as the crew works through their night. It's going to get cold. There may be some icing. We will work to make any necessary repairs. However, at this time, we do not have an estimate on the time of the repairs. I can let council members know over the evening as that information comes up. And I know the water department did talk to, or said they were going to talk to the chief about using our Everbridge system to let people know when the water would be on and off. So I'll continue to keep you updated on that. On a lighter note, I just wanted to commend our HR Director, Assistant Town Manager, Adriana Robena. As the council knows already, Southbridge was selected to receive a Most Progress in Wellness Award. She's been working on incentives to create healthier employees, which can impact our insurance rates. And we will be presented with an award at the upcoming January Massachusetts Municipal Association for the fine work that's been done. Also, I wanted to comment on the fine work that was done by our DPW crew during this first snowstorm. They've been shorthanded, but they did a great job. I didn't really receive any complaints. I've had some emails back and forth from the town of Sturbridge. We have had a long-standing, decades-long intermunicipal agreement with them for sewer, and that is expiring, and they are looking to send us a proposal to at least extend it for 5 years. That should be coming in the next week or two from their attorney. I will run it by KP Law, and then I'll brief you folks once we get a copy. I'll share it with you for discussion to see what we want to do about it. And also, I wanted to take note that we were fortunate, the economic development team working together, especially with Ms. Dean. We were looking at e-licensing and e-permitting, something that I did in my last community. We looked at a couple of different vendors, and we were able to submit through Ms. Dean for a community compact grant for the information technology. And so we're going to receive a grant. It's going to be on the agenda later this evening for $143,000 to the town to look at bringing e-licensing and e-permitting to the town of Southbridge. And that is all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you. Item number 8 is presentations. I don't believe we have a presentation scheduled for this evening. Item number 9, citizen forum. Are there any citizens that would like to address the council on an issue not on tonight's agenda?
Hi, my name's Carol, and I have concerns about having an AA meeting in the town of Southbridge. Our hall is being closed by Harrington Hospital on Main Street at the end of this year. And I have concerns about my peers that have the disease of alcoholism, that we're not going to have a hall to go to or a place to go to and I have a lot of concerns about my friends relapsing.
That's a very good concern. We'll take that.
Especially with the holidays, it's very hard on us.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This nice woman came up to me before the meeting. We were not aware of the issue that she's referring to. I am in regular communication with Mr. Moore over at Harrington Hospital on a variety of issues. I said if we could get a little more information, I believe Ms. Doyle has offered to try and get information from this woman on the particulars, and I will reach out to Harrington Hospital to try and get a better understanding. And then, if possible, we'll see if there's some alternative locations. Oftentimes, there may be religious organizations within the community that will offer space for such meetings. So we'll see if we can find an alternative or a proposal of some sort. So we'll look into it for you.
All right. God bless. And
Thank you.
happy holidays.
Thank you.
You too.
George Shenya, Teresa Ave. Mr. Chairman, presently on Sunday nights, the AA meeting takes place at the community center from 7 o'clock till 8 o'clock at night, and that's each and every Sunday night. They presently won't be meeting Christmas or New Year's, but they made arrangements for Sunday nights, and I'm sure if they talk to the senior director, that other nights could be made arrangements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good. Is there anyone else that would like to approach the council tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 10. Vote to confirm the police chief's recommendation to appoint Anthony Batista of Fiskdale, Mass. as a special traffic constable for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30, 2025.
So moved. Second. Gusco.
Motion by Council Steve, second by Council Montigny. Council Lazo.
Recommendation was unanimous from Subcommittee for confirmation.
Any discussion? Chief?
Through you, Mr. Chair, good evening. Currently, we have 30 traffic constables. If these three are approved tonight, it'd be 33. We've had a couple of issues with some of the appointed people not working, and we're working on a solution to that, as I mentioned in PPP, just so we can keep that number around 30. You must have a public safety background to apply for these positions, and all three of the candidates here tonight, before you have that, the gentleman, Mr. Batista, who's seated in the audience, he worked public safety for the University of New England in Maine. He's currently a public safety official at our local hospital. He lived in Dudley, and he currently lives in Fiskdale. I highly recommend him for this position.
Thank you very much. Councilors? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 11, vote to confirm the police chief's recommendation to appoint Joshua Brackett of Woodstock, Connecticut as a special traffic constable for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Council Lazo, second by Council Steves. Council Lazo.
Recommendation from Subcommittee was unanimous to confirm.
Very good. Chief, do you have anything to add?
Mr. Brackett, it says Woodstock, but he's a Southbridge person. We all know this. His family's been here for many years. He's currently a full-time firefighter for our local department. He's an EMT. He completed all the training. I highly recommend him.
Very good. Councilors? Very well. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 12, vote to confirm the police chief's recommendation to appoint Matthew Langevin of Southbridge, Mass. as a special traffic constable for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Council Lazo, second by Council Steves. Council Lazo.
Recommendation from Subcommittee was unanimous to confirm.
Chief?
Mr. Chair, and I failed to mention for Mr. Brackett, as with Mr. Langevin, both are working tonight as firefighters. That's why they're not here. Mr. Langevin is a Southbridge resident, family history in our community, especially the fire service. Completed the training, and I highly recommend him also for a special traffic constable position.
Very good. Councilors? Very well. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, before we take up item 13, I had a unanticipated development with regard to the next agenda item, which I would think falls under the category under Mass General Law 3821, Section 2, that would require a brief executive session. As it was unanticipated, I would respectfully request council waive the rules so I could go in and explain to the council what has happened. I imagine it would take 5 to 10 minutes tops. So that would be pursuant to Massachusetts General Law 3821, Section 2, to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with non-union personnel or contract negotiations with non-union personnel.
May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Tigney, second by Councilor Steve to suspend the rules. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Would you read the motion again, please, for the record?
I would respectfully request that the council entertain a brief executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Subsection 2, to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel.
May I have a motion and a second for that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Steve, second by Councilman Tigney. Roll call vote. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Councilman
Will we
Tigney.
call this agenda item 12A?
12A.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Everyone all set? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Daniel.
Yes.
Counselor Dow, Counselor Lazo.
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti.
Yes.
Counselor Montigny.
Yes.
Counselor Rivas.
Yes.
Counselor Steves.
Yes.
Councilor Adams, yes.
Oh, sorry. Keep forgetting to go around.
I finally
the
made
beginning.
it to a meeting. I'm just kidding.
Very good. It's, the vote is 7-0 to go into executive session. This will be a very quick executive session, and then we'll come right back.
Just step yes.
The regular meeting is now back in session. Item number 13, vote to confirm the town manager's appointment of Jason Benoit as DPW Director for a 3-year term effective immediately, pending the successful completion of pre-employment screening and state ethics.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Lazo and a second by Councilor Adams. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Based on recent developments and a change in circumstance, I would ask that we postpone this matter at this time.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to postpone indefinitely.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Lazo and a second by Councilor Adams to postpone indefinitely. Discussion. Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present to postpone. Item number 14, vote to confirm the town manager's appointment of Ray J. Cowett Jr. as seasonal DPW winter plow driver, effective immediately through April 30, 2023, pending the successful completion of pre-employment screening and state ethics.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Lazo, a second by Councilor Steves. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was approved by a vote of 4-0 at the subcommittee.
Any discussion? Very good. Excuse me. Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 15, vote to confirm the town manager's appointment of David J. Daly as seasonal DPW winter plow driver, effective immediately through April 30, 2023, pending the successful completion of pre-employment screening and state ethics.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Steves. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was also approved 4-0 by the subcommittee.
Very good. Any discussion? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 16, vote to increase the hourly rate for seasonal DPW winter plow drivers to $25 per hour plus overtime of 1.5 times the hourly rate after 8 hours on the job, retroactive to December 13, 2022.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Steves. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was approved by the subcommittee by a 3-1 vote.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, I believe you want to address this item.
I had to go speak to I do have, in case we want to hear from Ms. Rabena, but we did do a survey, or Ms. Rabena did through her office a survey for the plow drivers to ascertain what would be an appropriate number. I know there was a follow-up question. I did not get to speak to Ms. Harnois. We were out of the office overlapping times, and there was some question of whether or not, I think by Councilor Marquetti, what, if any, impact would this have at the time. But I do believe that Ms. Rabena could address the reason where we came up with the dollar amount, as well as any other concerns of the council.
Thank you. Ms. Rabena.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So we surveyed 20 municipalities around the Commonwealth, particularly around our area. And after conducting the salary survey, we discovered that we were below the market rate, and we recommended that we increase the rate to $25 an hour. However, after further review, we'd like to make an amendment to modify the rate to $24.84 an hour so that it aligns with our lowest paid DPW worker.
Okay, I'll take a motion to amend.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Steves, second by Councilor Rivas to amend the amount of pay to $24.84 per hour. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I believe we had this conversation on Thursday afternoon, and I talked to Councilor Marquetti about this. Although the subcommittee recommended at $25 an hour, there was an issue with the amount of money, as our HR department has discussed, down to $24.84. I do know there was a possibility of postponing this, that at this point in time we could either have further discussion, keep it at 25, or we can amend it to $24.84 to match what the lowest person is getting at this point in time. Obviously, it's left up to the town council to make the final decision. Thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
I have no problem leaving at 25, only for one reason. This is a temporary employee. It's not, he's only going to come in like for a snowstorm when it snows. It's not like full-time employment. So to enhance drivers, usually I'd leave it at the higher end. Not that it's a hell of a lot more, but I don't have a problem either way.
Anyone else? Councilor Marquetti.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Some of the questions that I had about this issue is there are some DPW workers who are making less than $25 an hour to plow our roads, and it seems to me $25 an hour is not too much to ask for somebody to plow roads, so I don't understand why any of our DPW workers are making less than $25 an hour to plow roads. Although I will say our DPW workers do get benefits, so you have to take that into account as well. My other questions are, this is just overtime for seasonal workers who drive our trucks, because the list that I received, there are seasonal plow drivers that are getting upwards of $80 an hour. They drive their own trucks, but this has no impact on them, I'm going to presume. So I just want to make sure that that's clear when we're talking about the overtime part of this, that somebody making $80 to $150 an hour is not going to be getting overtime after 8 hours. It's not clear in the agenda, and I just wanted to make sure that that is clear.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct, Councilor Marquetti. This only impacts the individual snowplow drivers that drive our vehicles.
That drive our vehicles?
Correct.
But so it doesn't say that in the agenda. I just wanted to make sure that we're clear about that. I also had a question about our budget and if this would have an impact on our budget. Last March, we had to approve a transfer of $12,500 from specialized services snow and ice to overtime snow and ice to cover the cost of overtime related to possible upcoming snow and ice event in late March, early April. So who were we paying overtime last March that we had to put more money into that account?
So I would have to refer that question to Mrs. Harnois, because I'm not aware.
But, so that is my question, since we had to transfer money last March when we weren't paying this overtime for seasonal employees, are we going to have enough money in the budget to pay them this year or in 2023 if there's overtime for seasonal employees? That's my question. That's my concern. Thank you.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Ms. Harnoy actually sent off an email to all of the councilors involved, including Councilor Marquetti,
I did read that.
myself.
Yep,
Yep,
thank you.
and her thing was the snow and ice budget has been $400,000 for the last several years. According to Adriana, there are only a few plow drivers that the increase affects, so there is no major impact to the budget. And basically, she gave a history. Back in 22, it was $293,000 based on $400,000, $294,000. Fiscal year 21 was $290. Fiscal year 20 was about $250. So we were way below that at that point in time.
I'll say, I understand that, if I could continue. And I got that email and I understand that. But we did transfer funds into the overtime account in order to pay for the overtime last year. So there's really two parts to that budget. There's the specialized snow and ice, and then there's the overtime snow and ice. So we only have a certain amount in the overtime snow and ice. Are we going to be short on that part of the budget? That was my concern. Thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
That's a loaded question. It's the question that we ask every year because we cannot predict the weather.
Right.
We don't know what we're going to have for snow. Are we going to use more salt and sand? Are we going to plow heavy snow? We don't know that. So, I mean, the one budget that I don't think a department head can actually control is wintertime, is the ice and snow. So I hope it's a light winter, and then the answer would be no. And then if it's a heavy winter, the answer would be yes. But you'd have to call the guy upstairs in order to confirm what we're talking about. Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else? Councilor Steves.
Yeah, I know, if I understand correctly from, I unfortunately was not at the DPW meeting, but as I recall, we were having a side conversation at one point a week or so ago, that was about the whole issue of this particular change. One of the issues for overtime is the fact that they're currently getting paid only if they go over 40. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Over 40 currently.
Yeah, which seems to be kind of unfair given how long some of the plowers can work on any given hour. I mean, given any given day of a snowstorm. And I think those of us who generally do other jobs, if we're doing overtime over 8 hours, and if we're getting dragged in for 14 or 15 or 16 hours, we're probably getting overtime. So I think that makes sense that they should be getting it too. And I was also thinking about, as the course of the discussion is going, and I'm inclined to agree with what Councilor Lazo said. This extra, whether it be $25 or $24.84, I'm fine with either of them. And I was thinking about it a little bit, and I would have no problem with just going for 25 and then just not nickel and diming them.
Anyone else? Councilor Marquetti.
So I just wanted to make it clear that when we need money into that overtime account, because we don't know how much snow, the money comes from the specialized account, correct? Is that how it works? I'm just trying to understand how that budget works. I've been on the council for 4 years, and I guess I didn't know how that part of the budget worked. So if we need money in the overtime account, it comes from a specialized account, which we have plenty of money, correct? Is that what's being said?
I cannot answer the specifics of where Ms. Harnoy
It's
would
okay.
take that, because
I'm in favor of
you
it, I
could
just wondered.
conceivably, we haven't expended money on salary this year. So when it came down to, it's my understanding snow and ice is one of those, or I believe the only account that you can overspend because you can't predict where you are going to be at the end of the year, because you could have a light winter or a heavy winter. But I think it would be incumbent upon the finance director to make a determination, and whereas we haven't expended a lot in salary this year, it might be somewhere where they could take it out. So it really, I think, depends upon what source that the finance director can find at that time.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I'm okay with leaving it at 25. I'm just concerned, I'm just curious how this snow and ice account works. I've been told we can never take money out of it. Once we're at 400,000, it has to stay at 400,000. So that's what I was told, but I'm okay with it. Thank you.
Very good. Anyone
Thank you
else?
for the answers.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Rivas.
I'm also okay with the 25. I just had a clarifying question based on Councilor Marchetti's question about, do we need to make sure that the vote has the language around our drivers that drive our vehicles, or to the effect that the language you were mentioning? I don't know. Just a question.
I couldn't hear half of the question.
Oh, sorry.
Audio.
Do we need to amend it to say that it pertains just to plow drivers that drive our vehicles specifically?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine with that.
That'll avoid further confusion.
Okay.
So I think that's a good idea.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Councilor Lazo.
I think when you read the agenda item and it says increase the hourly rate for seasonal DPW winter plow drivers, by saying seasonal, it's only a temporary person. If it's a full-time DPW driver, they drive our trucks year-round, they have benefit packages, it's a different animal. When you turn around and say, I'm going to ask somebody to come in, and I think the DPW did a great job on the storms we've had, but the thing is, somebody down at DPW makes the call to go out. And depending on when this storm happens, it depends on how much you get in accumulation by the hour. These guys monitor the storm, so they determine whether they call in, whether they don't call in. But these are short-term workers, they work the storm. If you don't have another storm, they're not coming to work. That's why the $25, I thought, leave it at 25. And it's a specialty item.
Ms. Rubino.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct, Councilor Lasso, but I think the confusion is between the contractors and the individuals. So to Councilor Marchetti's point, if we change the language, that'll avoid further confusion.
Great.
All right, I'll make that amendment. Just for seasonal snowplow drivers that drive our DPW trucks. Would
Mr.
that work?
Mr. Chairman, just a clarification here.
Certainly.
Before we do that, I would like to withdraw my original amendment. So we're amending the main amendment with his amendment rather than the one that I proposed,
Very good.
that I was accepting.
Thank you.
Second.
So the amendment would be that we're only talking about snowplow drivers who work for the town and drive our trucks.
Right.
Does that sound good? Worded that way? All right.
Who work for the town and drive our trucks,
Our vehicles.
our vehicles.
Right. Okay. That's my amendment.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Second.
Okay, we have a second amendment from Councilor Marchetti, seconded by Councilor Rivas. Any discussion on the second amendment only? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. We now go to the First Amendment, which is to reduce the pay from $25 per hour to $24.84.
I'm withdrawing that.
You withdrawing that?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so now we have the main motion on the floor. Any further discussion on the main motion as amended? Very well. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 17, vote to accept winter parking ban routes for 22-23.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Steves. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was approved 4-0 at the subcommittee.
Any discussion, councilors? Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. I was looking at the packet. Is it just the dates, or is there a couple streets added? I couldn't really tell the difference without matching them up. I wasn't at the subcommittee.
No, I don't believe there were any changes. It's just the dates.
Very good. Any further discussion? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Mr. Chair,
Councilor Adams.
just a recommendation to you to maybe take about a 5-minute break as we have a public hearing in 5 minutes.
Or you can take the other item.
We can skip over and grab another item.
You can take the case, the next one, keep going. Or you could ask to.
Take the break.
Yeah, it says at 8 p.m.
Okay.
And we can grab one of the lower items.
Unless you want to do the slate move.
I see that happening.
All right. We'll take a 5-minute recess. Okay, we're back from recess. Agenda item number 18, 30 Charlton Street, 8 p.m. Vote to enter public hearing to determine whether the interim building commissioner shall be authorized to enter upon the premises with the necessary workmen and assistants and cause such unsafe structure to be made safe or taken down without delay and a proper fence put up for the protection of passersby or to be made secure pursuant to Mass General Law 143, Section 7, to authorize the use of the town attorney to take all actions necessary, including, not limited to, initiating litigation to secure the town's access to the property and ability to recover its costs, and to authorize that town manager to enter into contracts and to sign all documents related thereto. Okay, we need to go in. We need to vote to go
open
in.
the hearing, yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Steves.
And I'll second.
And a second by Councilor Adams. Okay, all those in favor of entering the public hearing? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Okay, we're in a public hearing. At this point, I'd like to say that we'll ask the town to discuss first. Then we'll go with Mr. Rivera, then the council will deliberate.
You want to just preface anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to say, last Tuesday, after our Monday night last council meeting, Mr. Rivera's contractor did come to my office. He applied for a permit. There was some missing information. I worked with Mr. Rivera over the next 2 weeks to get that squared away. Friday, I issued the building permit. This morning, he did come in, pick up the permit, and they were working on the building today. Obviously, you're going to decide what you want to decide, but as far as the building end of things, he's done what he's legally obligated to do for the permit, and he is starting to work on it. As far as accountability, I suggest maybe putting together a construction schedule and maybe a bi-weekly meeting for production. Other than that, as far as my side of things on the building end, he has complied with our decision on the last council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Julian. Mr. Manager.
Just to add, I did work with Mr. Julian, and we've been in correspondence with Mr. Rivera. The public hearing, the wording that is on the agenda tonight, I know I did work with Councilor Adams, and we did talk to council. We wanted to have the same order that we had last June, so that if there wasn't any progress, this body could take the necessary action to take control of the situation. And that's why you have the public hearing and the wording that was there. So just wanted to give you that perspective as well.
Very good. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Julian?
Nope.
Very good. Okay. Mr. Rivera? Speak into the mic. Pull the
As
mic over.
Michael showed you guys earlier, I was working with both Michaels, regarding the whole situation, plus my contractor. We do got the permit in hand, and they did start work today, securing, especially what was temporarily could come down, and they're just going to continue to work on it to remedy the situation, looking into securing around the towers with some, to secure it from any, future, coming down until the springtime, until we figure out the next step on, putting it together or actually taking it completely down. But, I'm hoping not to have to do that. But, we've, do diligently, we were working together, and we started a good, step today by getting up there. They were getting up there today and taking down whatever could have been dangerous to fall down. And, they'll be out there again, And with the contractor saying is that, as long as weather's permitting, he can continue to keep working on it until he secures it. And then, come springtime is when you can, focus on doing the rest of it.
All right. If I may ask a question first.
Sure.
Do you have any problem with following the production schedule that Mr. Julian was suggesting?
No, I can ask the contractor tomorrow morning. I can get a hold of him and tell him that's what he needs, Whatever he's willing to, whatever he needs, I'm willing to, work with him. Okay, that's not a problem.
Very good. Are you all set?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Council Steves.
Yes, Mr. Rivera, just to clarify, so what time frame do you think it would take to actually secure the building to Mr. Julian's specifications?
To be honest with you, it's something I would have to speak with the contractor. I know he did say weather permitting, but, I'm trying to get it done in the next 2 weeks, at least,
Okay.
I mean, give or take, because we're going into the Christmas week, so
Right.
that's kind of, I think full power, starting next Monday after Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
He can get in there, start securing it, with the, whatever he's going to use to secure it.
Okay.
All set? Councilors? Any discussion? Council Lazo.
So I think what we're hearing is we're going to secure the building
Yes.
safely, whether it's netting or whatever we have to do. You're complying with the building commissioner. I am in the construction business, so I understand the weather factor, holidays. You're running into the dead of winter is going to be like January, February. So as long as things are moving forward, I don't have a problem with tabling this issue if other councils feel the same way, because if for some reason it breaks down in the process, I think we should be in the position to act on this issue.
I agree.
But thank you very much
I appreciate
for making all efforts work.
Thank you.
Working together is a lot easier than working apart.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. No real questions here, but I would recommend that put a placeholder at every town council meeting for an update via the town manager on the progress being made
makes sense.
over Charlton Street. That way we have a good foundation as we're moving forward, just to make sure that we're all on the same sheet of music. But I'd recommend that, it could be at a presentation, or it could be just an agenda item as an update to the town council, since it's gotten to this level.
Anyone else? Council Steves.
Yeah, I got a quick question through you to Mike, actually. To you, yeah, Mike Julian. Yeah, just a quick question. While we were talking about earlier, you mentioned that you had a chance to actually go into the building.
Yes.
And what were your ideas from inside the building? Since I know Mr. Rivera had said that you hadn't been in the building previously. So what did you see? What are your thoughts on that?
The building's in rough shape. If he's going to restore it, it's going to need a lot of work.
Okay.
I'm not going to speculate on a cost.
Right.
But the building it's in rough shape. It does need to be made safe. I don't know what you're looking for a direct answer out of me. If you want a cost comparison to whether it's worth fixing, no. Will it last till spring if he takes off the loose veneer on the outside? Yeah, it's not going to collapse if he takes care of the damaged areas to keep the water from getting in and damaging more of it.
Okay.
But in the spires, there is evidence that the water has gotten in. The mortar joints are bad. They're all starting to powder and flake apart. Yeah, it's going to need to be monitored, and it needs to be made safe. So.
And what about the rest of the building besides the towers?
Sorry,
What
couldn't
about
hear
the
you.
rest of the building besides the towers?
How's the rest of it besides the towers?
Yeah.
It would be fixable, but again, it's going to take a lot of money to fix it. It's not in pristine condition by any means. So.
Okay, thank you.
Council Lazo.
Question to the Commissioner. Is it fair to say secure the building, then work on the building? I'm not willing to let go of this agenda item permanently. I want to say, even if we named a specific date that the council would like to use, a month, 2 months, and then after, to revisit it, this agenda item, so we can, if he decides not to do anything anymore, and if this was a spark with no fire, we could go back to square one and
Most definitely.
okay,
Most
thank you.
definitely.
The next meetings we have scheduled are on January 9th and January 23rd, for the council's information. Council Steves.
Just a quick question from formality sake. Could we just vote to leave the hearing open until the job is done? Or would we want to just close it and just monitor it outside of a hearing process?
Council Adams.
I'd recommend that we table it. That way we can bring it right back if we have to.
Well, I was thinking the legalities of like posting a public hearing and all of that stuff.
Well,
If we had to advertise to do this as a public hearing.
No, we didn't have to. It was by putting it in the agenda, it was taken care of.
That's the posting.
Yep.
That's not how.
Council
Can I
Adams.
just clarify it for Councilor Steves real quick? Speaking with the lawyer, because we've given this so much attention, it's been out there. We've put it on our agenda multiple times. We had a emergency hearing and all that.
Right.
Speaking with the lawyer, said there's no requirement for the 2 weeks of a notification for our posting. Because we've done so much, he said at this point in time it's mute, but that's why it's now on the agenda this evening.
Okay.
And that was less than, 14 days ago.
I was just curious because we label it as a public hearing. and that's-
That was one of the questions we did ask him, just to make sure we're doing everything right.
Okay.
Okay. What's the intent of the council? Council Lazo.
Make a motion to table this agenda item.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Lazo and a second by Councilor Marquetti to table the agenda item for the time being. Discussion. All those in favor?
Roll call. Mr. Chairman, please.
Thank you. Very good.
Councilor Montigny?
Yes.
Councilor Rivas?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
Councilor Adams?
Yes.
Councilor Daniel?
Yes.
Councilor Lazo?
Yes.
And Councilor Marquetti?
Yes.
7-0. The motion is tabled. It can be pulled, and by being tabled, it can be pulled off at any time.
Thank you, council. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
I'm sorry, who seconded that motion?
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Motion to adjourn the public hearing by Councilor Adams, second by Councilor Steves. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. The public hearing is now adjourned. Moving on, please, to agenda item number 19. Vote to approve the contract with Guaranteed Building Maintenance to repair and replace slates on the Town Hall roof for a total of $9,700 to be funded from Capital Project Town Hall Roof Repairs, account number 6398, and authorize the town manager to sign all related
So
documents.
moved.
Second.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was approved at the subcommittee by a 4-0 vote.
Very good. Any discussion? Councilor Lazo.
Long overdue. I feel bad that Councilor Dow was not here. This is one of his driving issues when we had the waterfall one meeting, and he schooled me on where the leak was. But job well done. I'm glad this is going forward. It can save the structure. Good job, TM.
Okay, Councilman Tigney.
Thank you. Through you to the town manager, is there any timetable for this to be completed?
My last communication with Mr. Truax, I think he wants to do it as quick as possible. I told him I'd let him know tomorrow morning once this was passed, and he would try and schedule it in. I don't think we want to wait. Plus, I'm sure the conditions up there won't be ideal if we wait much longer. And again, he was the most responsive person to the solicitations. We tried looking around just to put a plug in for Mr. Truax, and he came right out. We tried to reach out to some other people that did slate work, and he got down here, and I got good references from other people who know of his work, so I'm sure he'll be here in short order. And I can update the council in email if he lets me know.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else? Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I'm just curious if anyone found any other structural damage due to this leak. I mean, this water was coming right into the building here, so I'm just like to know if anyone has gone up there, taken a look, see if there's any other structural damage.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do see Mr. Harding here. He may be able to elaborate, but we did ask that they take a look around while they were in there. My recollection is they didn't see anything remarkable, but Mr. Harding may be able to comment further, because we asked, they went up on the roof, and they did go up inside, so.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just that one room off to the side where they store a lot of stuff, that's the only major water damage in that area. Everything else is structurally sound. There's no major issues with anything up there. I mean, needs some updating. That's about it.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Agenda item number 20, vote to approve the fire department's transfer request for $600 from account number 001-220-519300 tuition to account number 001-220-542100 copy machine supplies to cover the quarterly costs for the copy machine for the balance of the fiscal year and authorize the town manager to sign related documents.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Steves. Councilor Lazo.
Recommendation was favorable, unanimous.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 21, vote to approve fire department's transfer request for $550 from account number 001-220-519300 tuition to account number 001-220-519200 uniform allowance to cover the cost for a new employee's first half clothing allowance and authorize the town manager to sign related documents.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Steves. Councilor Lazo.
At subcommittee was unanimous in favor of transfer request.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 22, vote to approve a payment of prior year invoice to CompraCare, Harrington Hospital, in the amount of $117.12 from account number 001-220-530000 Specialized Services.
So move. Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Steves. A two-thirds vote is required. Councilor Lazo.
At subcommittee, the vote was unanimous. At subcommittee for confirmation.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilor Rivas?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
Councilor Adams?
Yes.
Councilor Daniel?
Yes.
Councilor Lazo?
Yes.
Councilor Marquetti?
Yes.
And Councilor Montigny?
Yes.
Two-thirds vote having been achieved, motion passes 7-0. Item number 23, vote to approve Fire Department's request to accept a donation from the Nick Perry Memorial Foundation in the amount of $50,000 to be used at the fire chief's discretion.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Adams. Councilor Lazo.
At subcommittee, the vote was unanimous to accept the donation.
Chief?
Good evening, everybody. This was a Nick Perry donation of $50,000, as the article reads. I was approached sometime in June by the family of a person that we had contact with the EMS service for many, many years. Along with the family comes along with a very large dog named Tuca. We've had to deal with Tuca and the particular party involved on many, many ambulance calls. The family came to me and expressed concern and wanted to give us some sort of some monies regarding to go towards training of paramedics or EMTs, training towards the fire service, something that we can use for our department. So this is the donation at hand. I am truly blessed and very pleased that this is a large amount. They had told me in the initial stages that it was going to be a big number, but I was not expecting this. So at this point, I'd like to get this approved and get the check cashed and send some great thanks to this family for what they've done for us. Thank you.
Councilors, any discussion? Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say thank you to your men and women, because I know how many times you had to go down there and help the individual out. I want to also thank Mr. and Mrs. Parker for their generous donation to you guys and to the other organizations within this town and other towns that supported veterans. So I want to say thank you to them personally, and I hope we do well by them. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 24, vote to accept the fiscal year 23 firefighter safety equipment grant in the amount of $14,295.85 and authorize the town manager to sign related documents.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Steves. Councilor Lazo.
The motion at subcommittee was unanimous to accept the FY23 firefighter safety equipment grant.
Chief, do you wish to address?
Unless there's any questions.
Council? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 25, vote to accept the fiscal year 22 Emergency Management Performance Grant, EMPG, in the amount of $5,980 and authorize the town manager to sign any related documents.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Rivas. Councilor Lazo.
The vote at subcommittee was unanimous to accept the FY22 Emergency Management Performance Grant.
Any discussion? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 26, vote to accept the Emergency Management Performance Grant Citizens Corps Program competitive grant in the amount of $5,000 and authorize the town manager to sign any related documents.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Steves. Councilor Lazo.
It was a unanimous vote at subcommittee to accept the Emergency Management Performance Grant.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 27, vote to accept Weston and Sampson Engineers, Inc. consultant services for solid waste management, cost not to exceed, that should read $15,000, and authorize the town manager to sign any related documents.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Adams, second by Councilor Lazo. Councilman Tigney.
Thank you. This was voted favorable by 3-1 to recommend at subcommittee.
Discussion. Councilman Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. My concerns about this one is that, as I spoke at the subcommittee level, Weston and Sampson were paid consultants of Casella throughout the years that they were running the landfill. I'm not privy to Casella's consulting contracts, but I know that they did work for Casella on several issues. According to the town manager, Weston and Sampson was recommended by K&P. Well, K&P is the attorneys who negotiated the ironclad contract with Casella, the 20-year contract that Casella then tried to get out of 10 years earlier. And it put the town through a lot of legal fees to try and enforce the contract. So my question is, to me, is the fix in here? Because now you've got a Weston and Sampson who did consulting work for Casella. They were the engineers on the road to the landfill. They did a lot of work up there. Then you have Copeland and Page, who also work for Casella, recommending this company to come along and help us decide what company is going to pick up our curbside trash. I wouldn't be surprised if this company comes out and says, you should go with Casella to pick up your trash in 2024. Although I couldn't understand why we would pick somebody. Why would we agree to a second contract with Casella after they tried to get out of the first contract on the curbside garbage collection? So that's my concern. Weston and Sampson worked for Casella for many years. The whole time that this guy, Mr. Spinelli, is that his name? Spinelli? The whole time that he was the CEO of Weston and Sampson, they were consultants for Casella. And I can't see picking anybody that was associated with them whatsoever. Thank you.
You wish to address?
Yes,
Mr.
if I may.
Manager.
Just through you, KP Law did not recommend these. There was a contracting seminar for solid waste, municipal solid waste, that was hosted by Massachusetts DEP, and John Giorgio was one of the featured speakers that day because he does a lot of that type of contracting. It was actually a town administrator in another community that got up and mentioned the benefits of having such a consultant, and he had given this gentleman's name to me and then gave me some of the references that are listed in the letter. I did speak with that town administrator from southeastern Mass, and so that's where the conversation went in that direction. I did pose the question to Mr. Scipione. He said with regard to past work that he was involved in the industrial road and the pump station many years ago when Casella was just getting involved, and that he did an inspection and did speak with the then town manager here in Southbridge. He said all the work that I was involved in was for the town. So he worked on the town side. That's all he provided me with in an email that I received late last week. As for the Casella contract, I think I mentioned it the other night at subcommittee. We don't know who will respond. One of the things that I did mention the other night is we were looking at to see whether or not we could do individual tipping as opposed to having a contractor do the tipping to try and negotiate separate values or dollar amounts that might be more favorable to the town. But what you're seeing is the state is not allowing any more new landfills. The capacity is shrinking, the same with the burn facilities. So it's very difficult. I did speak to Wheeler Brader and their parent company about whether or not we could get on a contract with other municipalities, and we're going to have to wait at least 5 years for that to come open again, where we could get on with other municipalities for some type of efficiencies with regard to scope of or size and scope of the number of communities negotiating that type of contract. But when it comes to the curbside here, I have a pretty good idea that Casella is going to come and make a bid, primarily because they already have the trucks, the routes, the people, and if they didn't make a decent bid to us, what are they going to do with the equipment and those people? Anybody who does bid here is probably going to ask us to buy new trucks and pay more money. So I could foresee them making a decent offer, and I think we have to be open-minded about it for the costs in the long run. And while I was not here at that time, there's been a significant passage of time. Some of the people have come and gone. I realize this gentleman says he was here, but it didn't sound like he was instrumental in all of that work here. But my thought, again, at the end of the day, is making sure we have somebody who is involved in the industry that can help guide us and make sure that we're making the right decisions. We have limited in-house knowledge. We're working on the RFP and we're putting it together, but in terms of understanding the municipal solid waste industry, it's not my forte. And you also did ask me to see if I could get thoughts or impressions from our new health director as well as Ms. Smith, and I did mail those out late last week or early over the weekend. I did have a blurb from each of those individuals, which I forwarded to the council, so you can see their thoughts on whether or not we should have this third party assist us. So entertain any other questions, but otherwise that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Marchetti.
Well, thank you. I don't really have much more to add to it, except that I've heard this before. The individual saying, I personally did not have anything to do with Casella, but I'm not talking about him personally. I'm talking about Western and Sampson, which he was the CEO of, and they were involved in that whole issue with Casella and the landfill. And so that's why, I don't agree with having anyone that was associated with that whole thing come to us again and start telling us who we should hire as our landfill, or as our curbside garbage contract company. Although I do agree with you, we do need somebody to help out. As far as Copeland and Page goes, I did listen to the meeting, and that's exactly what you said. Copeland and Page advised you to pick Weston and Sampson. I just looked at the meeting today. I wanted to make sure who recommended Western and Sampson. It may have been just a slight mistake on your part, but that's all I really have. I'm not going to keep going on about it. I've already made up my mind on this one, and that's it. Thank you.
Just to clarify, I may have said that they did concur that it was a good idea to have that, but the personal referral came from a town that had used this individual. So
right.
Sorry if there was any confusion.
It's all right. Thank you.
Very good. Council Steves.
Okay, so if you're getting a personal referral from one town, did you actually go out and seek other entities that also do this kind of service?
No, I did not. This is exempt from procurement. It's just that particular administrator, he and I did play phone tag to get the contact information from Mr. Scipione. That town administrator did change towns. He gave my contact information, Mr. Scipione. He called me. We had the conversation. He gave me the references, and I did call. So, no, I didn't call anybody else, but this was the name that came out of that meeting back in mid to late October with other communities about, how people were doing their municipal solid waste and contracting. Was the only name that came to me from that meeting.
Okay. What exactly, to clarify, what exactly do you foresee these people doing for us?
I believe there was a proposal that Mr. Scipione gave to us, and that should have been included at some point, or I did send an email. Councilor Marchetti had asked about it. It was something that I sent to Councilor Montigny. I thought it was supposed to be in the packet this evening, where Mr. Scipione listed almost a dozen things that they do when they assist towns, including helping us fine-tune our RFP, go out with the towns, arrange to meet with the various vendors, help pre-negotiate contract bids, and help you with the contract along with your town council based on their experience. So.
Yeah, because all I have in my electronic packet is Mr. Scipione's, basically his summarized resume and some of the projects he's worked on. But I saw what Councilor Rivas was just showing me, but I don't have that in my packet. And so I'll admit, I'm having seen the original fight over the landfill years ago, I'm inclined to agree with Councilor Marchetti on this one. I have a bit of a problem with going back to some of the same names and places that we saw back then, because I don't want to end up in the same mess that we saw then. I would feel much more comfortable if we could do a little bit more work and see what other consultants out there might exist that actually have some sort of an experience doing this kind of work. I realize that it's not necessarily legally required under 30A. I get that. But that also strikes me as being a little bit of a almost tailor-made for conflicts of interest for some of these entities, and that bothers me.
Anyone else? Council Lazo.
Valid points all around. This company has been around a long time. They're a heavy hitter. Weston and Sampson, I remember back when I was on council in the 80s, they did a lot of work in the state of Massachusetts. They're not going anywhere. I have a very strong feeling that when they go through the bid process that Casella will be one of the low bids. Then what are you going to do? Go with a higher bid? We're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, if you want to put it, Casella as the argument. But the bottom line comes down to is, when you're in business, you're going to deal with these people. I would rather have Weston and Sampson working for me than working for against me. I'm going to be voting for this tonight, and going forward, we need to keep a sharp pencil and a sharp eye out for the best deal for the taxpayers. At the same time, the legal advice to get into a contract that puts Southbridge first, not the subcontractor that we are going to be hiring or the contractor. So I know we had problems with the landfill. We can go back and do history lessons. Everybody's got a story to tell. They're not lying. It wasn't good. But going forward, I'm in favor of Western Sampson, and I do want to see what's going to happen with the best interest of the town going forward. Thank you.
Any other councilors? Mr. Pulaski.
It was Mr. Steves, as a reporter for the local paper, who voted extensively, or who worked extensively on the goings-on of that very contentious issue. And he probably knows a lot of things I don't know from his reporting work. And Mr. Marchetti was also very active. Some weeks I remember dozens of hours of work. Mr. Lazo makes a good point. It's better to have Weston Sampson working with us than on the other side. But both Kopelman and Page and Weston and Sampson represented us during that. And what sticks with me, and I hope I don't come across as bitter, I just keep kicking myself for failing to be persuasive enough back then to convince the town council then and the Board of Health then. And it was a 5-4 vote before the council and a vote, a difference of 1 before the Board of Health. One of the things I made the most noise about at the time, I played with some numbers, I kind of cheated and went to some engineer friends in South Florida. Things are different there. Things rot faster. But for the most part, 400,000 tons, that's a lot of garbage, is, believe it or not, kind of easy to guesstimate how long it takes. Weston and Sampson double-checked the figures that we were given. It suggested that the landfill would never get used up using 400,000 tons a year, taking in 400,000 tons a year. And at least in that particular case, yes, they have an excellent reputation, but it was their assurance that convinced some of the councilors to vote for that contract. Now, we were also guaranteed 10 years if for some miracle reason it was to be used up too quickly. And somehow, not only did that get by and approved of, I think it appeared to me, not having been a councilor, that we may have been bullied somewhat, that this big corporation could somehow persuade a judge of the Commonwealth to clobber a small town. That was made in good faith. And Mr. Giorgio of Kopelman and Page assured us of that. There's no way they'd get out of that. Yet our own attorneys, who were not Kopelman and Page, in those negotiations that I think ended up cheating the taxpayer of what will be as much as $6 million in additional fees that we may have to pay. They went in there with the wrong numbers. Some I learned in the Navy, two things: lefty-tighty, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and garbage in, garbage out. And our own lawyers went in there with garbage thinking that they were only guaranteed until 10 years from the time the contract was signed, when actually the way it was written, it was 10 years from the time the DEP approved the conversion from construction and demolition to municipal solid waste. So what I'm asking, especially because we have some things here that other towns don't have. We're not like any old town that needs to get the trash picked up and discarded. We have some space up there. Yes, it's covered with plastic. It's got to be watched. We've got a lot of gas up there that I can't represent the town, but I've been asking a lot of questions about. It's really not healthy gas to burn, but it's better than not burning it.
Excuse me one second. Your time is up.
May I have about 3 minutes? No more than 3 minutes.
You're entitled to 2 more based upon a vote by the council.
I'll try to speed it up. You need
Mr.
to
Chairman,
vote.
I recommend we extend his time, if we can keep it to, not the history, but keep it right to
Keep it
the
to
agenda item.
Yep. We have a motion by Council Lazo, second by Council Steves for an additional 2 minutes. All those in favor?
Thank you, ladies and
Opposed?
gentlemen.
Unanimous of all present.
My point
please,
is,
please identify yourself for the record and your address.
we have approximately, $5 million we spent on that road? What's that, sir?
Could you please identify yourself for the record
Sure, John Pulaski,
and your address?
87 Old North Woodstock Road.
Thank you.
We have what was called an industrial park. People insisted at the time it wasn't a landfill access road. Okay, it's an industrial park. Why are we abandoning this $5 million industrial park when we could use it to attract some very creative companies that don't show up here very much? But there's some brand new technologies. I'm not asking you to delay this for a month, for a year. You can't. You have to decide, probably within the next 6 months. But we have an asset up there. We have that park. There's space there. It's already been named. It's going to be an environmental park. And such a person, we ought to have someone, a consultant, that knows the new technologies, that can back up. Like some of us are asking for insurance in case that 10 years didn't occur. Perhaps we can have some sort of assurances that what is being promised can happen. Now, we're here, it's a contract. The contract didn't help us very much. $6 million is a lot of money. There's some places where people they're actually separating, like we did in this town when we were kids, some of us were kids, separating the wet garbage from the dry trash and turning that into money. Turning plastic recycling, instead of taking it and burning it in incinerators. We can make roads with that stuff. We can be in our geographically central location, could make that a probability. And these are things that we're kind of pigeonholed. If we vote for this tonight, we're pigeonholing ourselves. We're losing the potential of not the whole 6 million, but a couple 100,000 here, a couple 100,000 there. It adds up. And we can save money if we have someone that has some very progressive ideas and possibly even get the university system involved. We got that resource. It could be a part of the University of Massachusetts system instead of an abandoned landfill access road. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors? Very good. All those in favor? Those against? Motion passes 4-3. Councilors Marquetti, Steves, and Rivas against. I got that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Item number 28, vote to accept the Community Compact CC Information Technology Grant for up to $143,360 to provide e-permitting software townwide and authorize the town manager to sign any related paperwork.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Adams, second by Councilor Lazo. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you, was unanimously voted on in favor of to move forward to the town council for a final vote. This is an application that we as a town council approved through Ms. Dean's hard work. We were approved for $143,360 for e-permitting or a software program that will help ease some of the burden that we carry right now, brings us kind of into the 21st century as well with this software program. Some of the highlights that Ms. Dean had provided to us, it improves customer service through the contracts, able to fill out the applications online, improves inter-department permitting, allows for increased code enforcement, permitting, and efficiencies, frees up staff time. Some of the questions at that meeting were, does this eliminate jobs, stuff like that. Ms. Dean assured us it does not eliminate jobs. It kind of streamlines the process. I do know when we did the application process, to the town manager, we had asked, instead of certain departments going with this software, we asked that all departments go with this software. That way everybody's on the same sheet of music. And then if there's any questions, I know Ms. Dean is more astute to answer the questions than I am.
Okay, Mr. Manager, you can begin.
Just two things. I know Ms. Dean will talk about this. I neglected in my announcements, and she reminded me that she wanted everybody to know that we're now accepting applications for the ARPA loan program through the Economic Development Office, and they can be found on the town's website under news. So that's for, economic development, and that was something I should have mentioned. And, Ms. Dean is working on that. But just so you're aware, the software program that's listed in the memo is one that, in my capacity in my last community, I was tasked with this endeavor, and Full Circle Technologies was the one that we vetted probably about a half dozen different vendors and found it to be the most user-friendly and most beneficial for our needs, so that we could do what Councilor Adams had talked about, bringing all departments online, so we're all using, as he indicated, the same sheet of music, and so that we could leverage the capacity, the capabilities to tie it to our GIS system, so that in future, when somebody clicked on our GIS maps, they could find out internally which departments had open permits, and it would allow actually a step-through menu, so that when we were getting sign-offs for liquor licenses or whatever the case may be, there was a workflow so it could go through departments. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes tools and a lot of tools that are available to the public for convenience sake. So this is something that a lot of towns are moving forward, and I think with the hard work, especially in economic development, Ms. Dean, we all sat in on some of these. This could be something very beneficial for not only staff, but really for our clientele, which is a lot of the people that utilize the businesses, not only residents, but visitors to the town as well. And to Ms. Dean, I'm sure she'll have more to add.
Ms. Dean?
Well said. The application for the ARPA loans is available tomorrow.
Councilors? Councilor Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I was one of the ones that brought up the issue of purchasing this software. I take it that this is for contractors, and I presume residents can acquire permits, pay fees online. Eventually, I imagine bills could even be paid with this app online. Some of the questions that I did have, and Ms. Dean did answer, with this, are we looking at eliminating jobs if we purchase this type of software, because someone can go into this app and pay their bill? Are we going to have to pay a fee every year once we purchase this software? I know some softwares that get purchased, then you have to pay a fee, a licensing fee or whatever fee you call it, every single year to keep the software going. When we purchased the Munis software, I know that there were a lot of, that was supposed to be the software that would be the software of the future, would solve a lot of problems, and then there were a lot of employees who weren't trained on the software. So then we had to pay for the training so they could get training on Munis, or are we going to have to train employees for this software? I get it that this is the new thing, the way things are going to go in the future. I'm kind of old school. I write my check, I come to the town hall, I hand them the check, they give me a receipt. I've had contractors come to my house and they've pulled permits. I didn't hear any of them complaining about the process. I doubt if this software is going to save me any money. In fact, I wouldn't doubt if they start charging fees to use the software, and the contractor's probably going to pass that on to me. So I'm not really in favor of this. I get it that it's going to be the thing of the future. I will just say this. If you do purchase it, the counselors say, okay, we want to purchase this. I don't want to hear any more complaints from the assessor's office about sending out bills for curbside garbage collection because they're short-staffed if you're going to purchase this software for them to do their job. So that's all I have to say for it. Thank you.
Councilors? Council Oswald.
I commend Peg Dean, as always, bringing those dollars. My question is, where is the IT person on this? We hired a IT person, didn't we?
Yes.
Did he have a recommendation on it?
I did not ask him for it. I believe this endeavor started long before Mr. Rule came on. This was something that we had talked about, Ms. Dean and I know that there were, I think Councilor Adams participated in this as well. We had talked about how to create efficiencies, and we also discussed where we could find money. The Community Compact, they usually give us notice of funding, and there was something there for information technology. So when we were talking about this early on, this opportunity came up. So I have not elicited and I don't think Ms. Dean did, unless she did. I didn't speak to Mr. Rule. But typically this third party, in this case Full Circle, they install this. It's a cloud-based piece of software. There isn't a whole lot that the local IT director does. To Councilor Marchetti's point, it is software as a service. There can be a fee, annual fee year over year. I'm not sure what was included in this particular proposal. When you talked about Munis, that's a financial piece of software. That the company that makes it, their parent company, Tyler Tech, makes this same type of thing, but they'll sell it to you for a different price. Actually, Tyler's product is almost double the price of Full Circle's. I looked at them previously. And with regard to billing software is different than this type of software. This is the online permitting, but it also allows you to tie two properties, and it's a workflow for permits primarily. Permits and licensing. There are different softwares for every different application. I don't think you get one catch-all, and I would almost be leery for some of the same discussions we had earlier about other agenda items to get one company that did all of our applications, because then we would be beholden to them. So you go out for each type of application and you look at the different vendors and what they have to offer. So there's a niche market right now where I said there's a good number of people that play in this sphere. Full Circle happens to be a local developer within New England. I believe they're based in Boston. And as I said, they do a lot of municipalities here in the Commonwealth, and we were one of the early takers in my last community.
The only thing I bring this up is because, first of all, I am not a technology genius. I'm not too far behind Mr. Marchetti as far as a technological dinosaur. But going forward, I know when we were on school side, all IT stuff was checked off by the IT guy. And I'm not questioning the financing or the programming as far as where you go going for it. My thing was, I always thought that if you hire an IT guy in this town hall or in the town of Southbridge on town side, that he would be involved in the final decision. But I don't know, am I wrong in saying that?
I don't think you're wrong. I think this started well before he was in. But if the council was so inclined, we could, make it contingent on a favorable commentary from our IT. But I think he's going to have limited involvement.
If he was not here at the time, I understand that moving forward. But when we do things like this moving forward with him on board, would it be fair to say that he would be involved?
Yes, we have other technology needs and wants that we're looking at, and he's being involved in, for instance, upgrading our phone system, looking at security, cameras and different things in the town. So we're involving him in those discussions.
Thank you.
Councilor Rivas, then Councilor Steves.
Now, does the software prevent someone from writing a check?
No,
Okay.
through you.
Okay, so I do think that, thank you, through you, Mr. Chair, that, we've asked our economic development coordinator and our town manager to find ways to increase, the continuity and, kind of make the permitting process smoother so we can attract business. I think this is a step in that direction. And if it doesn't preclude people from choosing to write a check, then they can do so as well. So I don't think it forces anyone to do that. So.
If I may, through you, Chair, just to clarify, there was a comment about paying bills. The bills would be associated with the permits and applications. This is not other general bills in town. This is a permitting software for the purpose of permitting and licenses throughout the town, so it will be through many departments. And the benefits are to our contractors. It's creating a more business-friendly environment, obviously. Most importantly, it's for the residents' convenience if they want to use it. And if you wanted to look at the first link that's within the memo, it's the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission's guide to suggestions of what to look for when you're purchasing software. You can see the ranges and prices. You can see the anticipated future costs. It really breaks it down. And that would be, I think it's 3 pages into that link. Very helpful. And this is just the beginning of the process now that we've been awarded these funds. We pursued a cost estimate for an all-in, all departments in solution. And so now we look forward to being able to access our new IT director's opinion, advice, guidance, whatever he wants to offer, but we hopefully will not have to burden him with this new technology.
Councilor Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of points as brought up by some of this discussion. One of the things I want to point out that the manager mentioned, that if I understood you correctly, that this is a Tyler service. You said that Tyler Technologies provided this?
No, Tyler makes Munis. Tyler does, when Mr. Councilor Marchetti brought up Munis, I wanted to make clear that this is not their product. They make their own product similar to this, which, based on my prior research, was significantly more expensive than Full Circles.
Okay, good. Because I remember we had some issues with Tyler's training program and all this other stuff when it came to dealing with Munis. So that would have made me a little skeptical of dealing with these people for this. But so that's good to know. But I was curious, through you to Peg, I guess. When I was talking to the health director a while back, and he was mentioning concerns about, among other things, the permitting and stuff that he already has to do in the permit process, and having not enough people in those offices and building in the health department offices to do stuff. How much will this help ease their workload? Do we have any idea in terms of? Because I don't want to see it. I would preferably not like to see it lay people off, because I'm not in favor of technology that does that. But I would like to. It might be helpful if we have something where this could make it maybe unnecessary to hire more people, if we can avoid that, because for the whole budgetary, town budget thing, it's kind of have to walk that line. So any ideas on that?
I can't speak, if I may through you, Chair, I can't speak necessarily to the number of increases in application processing or the efficiency of a department, whether they'll be able to eliminate a position or not have to hire for a position, et cetera. I can say that, over and over again, the references state that you will be able to streamline your efficiencies, you will be able to improve your customer service, you will be able to potentially increase revenue if you're processing more, business related permits. You will see where you can review as a town where you have shortcomings in your processes and potentially improve those in the future. It becomes a more transparent process for all. There are very basic applications, and then there are very advanced applications. So depending on what we end up landing on, I think we'll speak to that too.
So is the idea of
Forgive
this,
my vagueness, I can't
okay.
offer an
So
example.
is the part of the point of this grant then to take a look at what we need and kind of tweak it to make sure that it answers kind of those questions that you just raised?
If I may through you, Chair, the next step is for us to shop permitting software as a group and for us to then enter into an agreement which we'll bring to the town council. So during that time, we'll be evaluating our needs, evaluating the services, and then being able to finally, bring something to you in the future. But we couldn't do so without having any funds secured.
Okay, so then to clarify, reading through the document that we have in front of us, so at this point, we are not actually voting on software directly. We are voting on accepting the grant so that you can go ahead and do all of this stuff.
Correct.
Okay, that's good to know. And the other question that I had is, so if we do end up deciding whatever software program we decide to select, if we do, would there be a way to ensure that we have record keeping in case for some reason we should ever lose the system? Whether we decide to get rid of the program or whatever, how will we know that how can we be sure that we will be able to have the data that the program has, that we won't just disappear into cyberspace and all that other stuff?
If I may, through you, Chair, that is one of the recommendations of the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission's guide, is to make sure that you ask those questions of, how is your data backed up? How are you able to walk away with that data should you want to change systems? So, that's part of our evaluation.
Okay, good to know. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And excuse me for having to wear a mask. My family's got COVID at home.
Good news.
Thank you. Just to clarify, make sure I understand this. This is for things like pulling permits, like plumbing permits, electrical permits, things like that, as amongst other things. Okay. I know that, and it's great to hear that you haven't really chosen a software yet, because there are softwares out there that lots of different towns use, and they have contractors and people who pull permits on a regular basis already in the system in other towns, and they already have up-to-date insurance information and things like that. So I think it's great that you have the ability to shop around after using this grant. And I think it would be, as the topic of the IT director, I think it might be a little better to be asking inspectors and people who pull permits, people who work and people who have experienced working on it from the end of the town and the end of the person pulling the permit. Because the IT director, in my opinion, we used to work at the school doing IT back in the day, and it's more managing the network and problems. So I feel comfortable moving forward this without their opinion here. But I think it's important, the same way when we switched our accounting software, I think it's important that we make sure that the software ends up being something that is used widely in this area, that you're going to attract a lot more easy experiences for people on both ends. Thank you very much for all the hard work.
If I may, through you, Chair, just to give a point of reference, it's the building inspector and the town planner that were advocating most for this permitting software. Within my power, am looking for grants at all times. We saw this opportunity arise. So obviously, we would be looking with those within the town government who are going to be using it most. We'll be making that decision among each other together.
Mr. Manager.
So just to follow up, I think this would address Councillor Lazo's concern about having the IT director weigh in while he's talking. But the other thing I was going to say, we weren't as fortunate in my last community to get the grant.
You can't interrupt him when he's in the zone.
Yeah.
So I think this process would allow that input that you were seeking before, Councilor Lazo, when we go out. But to the question that was also discussed by Councilor Montigny, is that we weren't fortunate in my last community to get this compact grant, but what we did do is during the vetting process, we brought a lot of the stakeholders, like Councilor Montigny said, we brought like 20 people into a room and usually had the vendors come in. This was pre-COVID. They would go up on the screen, display that, and allow each of the department heads to ask questions if they were going to get the module for, say, dog licenses or building permits or anything, motor vehicle excise tax or whatever. They could ask, see examples, and that way we rated letting everybody have some input. So I'm sure we could do something similar here and then get some of the buy-in from the community contractors. So that's a good way to do it, and that's what we did in the last time. So.
If I may.
Councilman?
Yeah. That sounds great, through you to the manager. A citizen who pulls permits in many towns recommended some software to me. I got to search through my notes, but when I find that, I can forward it to you and the council and Ms. Dean, just as another piece of software that we can take a look at. But I'm very happy that you have the grant because, like, this has been something that's been brought up to me for months, and I'm finally happy to see that we're going in this direction because it's an opportunity it's a very pro-business thing. If people can come in and pull permits and it's easy and it's a good experience. So it's important to me that we choose a good one. I'm sure we will. Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? 6-1. Councilor Marquetti opposed. The motion passes. Item number 29, vote to approve full forgiveness of community development block grant housing rehab projects when a property owner turns 80 years old for existing and future deferred payment loans.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Steve, second by Councilor Adams. Councilor Adams.
Unanimous of all present at the P&D in favor of.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 30, vote to approve transfer request for $240 from account number 001185-530000 Economic Development Specialized Services to account number 001180-54200 Economic Development Supplies to fund the expense for surveilling Capillo Park and McCann Fields in fiscal year 23 and authorize the town manager to sign related documents.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Montigny. Councilor Adams.
Unanimous of all present to move forward to the town council in favor of. Thank you.
Any discussion? I'm sorry, Councilor Rivas.
Oh, just a quick question, because I wasn't at the subcommittee. Do we know where the surveillance will be, or?
As I suggested in the subcommittee, because security is something that's addressed in executive session, I try to keep it as vague as possible. It's just good to know that we will be surveilling the Capillo Park McCann Fields to prevent any future vandalism, or at least deter.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 31, vote to approve $29,490.50 in ARPA funds in support of the Southbridge Softball Association lighting project located at Southbridge Ed McGann Memorial Field, and distribution of such funds will be overseen by the town's ARPA administrator.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Adams. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, at our last ARPA meeting, it was voted 3-0 to move this forward in a positive manner. This started off back in, I believe, June of 2022, where multiple people had approached me about new lighting over at the softball field at Ed McMahon Memorial Field. The Southbridge Softball Association, which carries about over 400 members themselves, have advocated for this, knowing that there was ARPA funds out there. At this point in time, you're looking at a total ARPA funds requested is $29,490.50. Other funding is over $5,000 from National Grid and also $18,000 of the Southbridge Softball Association's own account. So they've got skin in the game. They're required by the lease to maintain the field, which they do a great job of. It's one of the, if I'm not mistaken, one of the largest ones in the area as far as the association is concerned. They've done a great job maintaining the field themselves. I believe it started in 1974, and some of the original members are actually here, I believe, here today themselves. So they advocated this. They've been great stewards. One thing was when they first approached, they were looking at their own electricians to see what it would cost here and there. Ms. Dean got involved, which I really, really appreciated, utilizing a contractor through National Grid, which this is where we save about $5,000, $5,070. They just did the design, they did the quote, they provided it back to us a little bit longer than we expected, but we do appreciate the fact that they brought us a good piece of gear to go off of themselves. And, you know, again, infrastructure, and I believe Councilor Marchetti had mentioned also, let's see, it was infrastructure and public health itself, people being outside, playing, have a great time, socializing and stuff like that. So I highly recommend that the town council vote in favor of this. We're talking about $29,490.50 out of almost $52,000 project. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Discussion, councilors?
Did you want to hear from them at all?
Yeah, SSA, or Southbridge Softball Association, actually came here. I'm glad they didn't listen to me when I said be here at 7:30 and showed up a little later. I'm kind of a bit off on those projections. So they've been sitting there patiently waiting. And if they would like to say a few words, Mr. Chair, that's up to them.
Yep. Would you like to approach?
I'd like to hear from Mr. Marcucci.
Never met him.
There you go.
I would just like to thank the town for considering assisting us. I'm very proud about the field. Very proud that we've been down there since 1974. We have a lot of pride in that field. We have a lot of pride in the neighborhood. And I just really want to appreciate the consideration for assisting us.
Very good. Mr. Manager.
During our discussion the other day at the Upper Meeting, Mr. Tucker was there, and he did make an inquiry about they have skin in the game, as Councilor Adams had indicated, and their lease is coming up soon, in, I believe, April of this year. So I did ask Mr. Tucker. He did send me over a copy, a PDF. I've been looking. I did find some of the older Word documents, but I indicated to Mr. Tucker that we would try and expedite the renewal of the lease because the town will be putting in money as well as the Southbridge softball and ensure that they've been good custodians of the field, and because they're putting money in, I'd like to get that to you in one of the upcoming meetings and sit down and work it out with him. I said I would, and he followed right up, so just to make you aware.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted, before we vote, thank Pat for staying on top of me, Leon, quite a few others, George, and all the other members of the association for staying on top of this process for the last 5 months. You guys have been great. So thank you, Ms. Dean. Thank you, and to Mr. Rumsey as well. I know it's been back and forth with emails, but we finally got a good piece of paper here to go off of and help the association out. So thank you.
Councilor Rivas.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for bringing it forward, the ARPA committee for, bringing this to our attention and kind of going along with all the other improvements there at McCann Field. That's where I learned how to play softball when I was a kid. And so it's great to see all of this work coming together. And I really want to commend Ms. Dean, who just brings all of this to the forefront, and just the amazing work. But thank you for taking care of the fields and that area for so long. Thank you so much.
Council Montigny.
Thank you very much. I've always in favor of Henry Street getting improvements. My father used to play in the softball association. Gordon, he was in the Dunright Builders at the time. I'm sure you guys played against him, and a lot of my best friends, still attend the Southbridge Softball Association function. So I'm very happy to see this year all the different monies from Joe Capillo Park all the way to Henry Street. They have to be ready to be neighbor to our, brand new fire station in a couple of years. So thank you for staying on top of everything.
Anyone else? Very well. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Thank you.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just through you real quick, the ARPA funds, so everybody is aware, we still have after this vote, $1,337,949 left in the account. We do have some big tickets coming our way here in the near future. Basically, we've spent allocated 73% of the ARPA funds that we received so far. So thank you.
Very good. Item number 32. Vote to amend the proposed town charter submitted by the Charter Review Committee by adding the following 2-4-7. The town council may by a vote of 6 dictate the appointment of any officer or employee under the jurisdiction of the town manager.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Montigny, second by Councilor Lazo. Discussion. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this agenda item, on this change here to the charter, I feel that it completely contradicts the Charter 246, which is right before it. The town council or its members may freely and fully discuss with the town manager anything pertaining to the appointment or removal of any town officer or employee, but neither the town council nor its members shall in any way dictate the appointment or removal of any officer or employee under the jurisdiction of the town manager unless otherwise specified by the charter. So it just seems to me, if we are going to make this change, then we would either have to change 246 or not make this change at all because of what I perceive as a contradiction. Thank you.
Councilor Montigny. Yes, Councilor Montigny.
Thank you very much. To the previous speaker's concerns, the ending of that says unless otherwise specified by the charter. So the very next line, 247, wouldn't contradict it. It actually goes along with what it's saying. And it is too bad that Councilor Dow is not here because he was in strong favor of this. And so am I. But thank you.
Councilor Rivas, then Councilor Steves.
Again, I do agree with Councilor Marquetti, but I also want to say that it's unnecessary. The council that, we serve as checks and balances on the town manager and all of the other departments, all of the appointments go to the subcommittees and then they come before this council for a vote. So I don't think it's necessary, and I actually do think it's overreaching and contradictory. So I would not be in favor of this.
Councilor Steves.
I'm also not in favor of this for the same reason that we had when we discussed it earlier. If we have a situation where this comes forward, then as it is now, I think we're all upset about the delays with certain appointments, and specifically the DPW director, and we all saw what just happened to that a little while ago. I understand why sometimes this can be an issue, but this is, quite frankly, just a nepotism clause. And it creates a situation where a relative handful of people can just shoehorn whoever they want into the jobs that are critical for our community. And while I understand that you've argued, both of you in the past have argued the idea that this is kind of the council's job to be the spokesman for the public, and it is to a certain degree, but I think that our role is as a legislature, not as an executive, and that we create the policies. And if we create the policies well, that the town manager implements, then we will be getting the kind of staff people that we need to get. If we don't do a good job with that, then we have issues with the staff people we get. But I definitely don't see this kind of a clause in our charter as doing anything but creating problems.
Anyone else? Very good. Roll call, please. I'm sorry, Councilor Adams.
Just want to add, just my personal opinion, I believe it circumvents the authority of the town manager and there's responsibilities or her responsibilities in the future. And also, I brought up the other day as well, as we are expecting an evaluation system for the department heads by June, by the end of June. My question would be then, who does that department head work for? The town manager or the town council, and who's writing that? Again, it circumvents the authority of the town manager. And that's all I have to say. I'm completely opposed to something like this. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Steves?
No.
Counselor Adams?
No.
Counselor Daniel?
No.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
No.
Counselor Montigny?
Yes.
And Counselor Rivas?
No.
Motion fails, 2-5.
I'm sorry, who voted in opposition? I was
In
reading.
opposition, Councilor Lazo and Councilor Montigny.
They voted in favor.
They voted in favor, so the rest of us voted against.
Thank you.
All set?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, very good. Item number 33, vote to amend the proposed town charter submitted by the Charter Review Committee by deleting the word alone from section 424.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Adams, second by Councilor Steves. Any discussion? Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope you give me a little bit of leeway on this one. As I was reading this section, I noticed that the part where we vote on the Department of Public Works has been eliminated. And although I don't have a problem with that, what I see is that something's been added here, a Deputy Director of Public Works. And I don't remember us, I could be wrong, but I don't remember us having a Deputy Director of the Public Works. If I'm wrong, then I apologize. But the way I'm reading this section, I know what I'm talking about has nothing to do with the agenda, but it is in the same paragraph. Did the Charter Review Committee add a position to the Department of Public Works? That's my question.
I believe they did.
Have we ever had a Deputy Director of Public Works? I thought we had a director and then an engineer, but I don't remember. I could be wrong. I just don't recall us having a deputy director.
Never heard of it.
Historian, I don't know.
So is that something we could strike if you're in favor?
I'm thinking,
Could we strike that? Let's make an amendment to this, if the council so chooses to do that.
Unfortunately, Mr. Harding's no longer here to clarify now.
I'm sorry, I can't
That would
hear
be good
you.
to know. I said, unfortunately, Mr. Harding is no longer here to clarify that question. I was thinking that I don't know if, like when Matt was here, I don't know if he was technically deputy director or not. I know he was town engineer.
He was an interim director.
He was interim director,
Because
definitely. He was that.
Because Heather quit.
I know.
I just don't recall it, that's all.
Councilor Adams.
There's a bunch of us, so I'd let Councilor Lazo, I think he beat me to the punch. He's faster than I am.
I've never heard of it. It's new to me. We've always had, I remember the design of the DPW director was the town engineer, and then they wanted it to make it more of a maintenance position, and they got bumped to, the town engineer went to an engineer position below the department head, but the department head was always just the DPW director.
Yeah, I see it.
Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. I feel like the way I'm reading the old changes, it said the Department of Public Works, and then they wanted to put Director of Public Works, and maybe they put the word deputy because the Director of Public Works has all these other titles like tree warden and bug superintendent or whatever those things are called. I think they mean to reference the thing that it always meant to reference, is just maybe strike the word deputy. I think it means the DPW director. No? Well,
If I may, Mr. Chair,
Certainly. Please.
so on the salary schedule, it looks like there is a deputy DPW director. It's grade A6/town engineer.
It is, that's what I thought.
So it's a dual position.
Oh, so that's what it is.
okay.
So we should just make it the engineer then, right?
All right, the agenda item is for us deleting the word alone. We're getting way off here.
Well, to all due respect, I did ask your permission
You
to
did,
go
but,
off.
but we're just really going off on a tangent here. At this point, I'd like to vote on the agenda item, and then we can open it up. I'll take discussion on a possible further motion for section 424. Councilman Tigney.
Could I make an amendment to add, by deleting the word alone and the word deputy from section 424?
You could do that.
Well,
That doesn't make sense, though, because it says, upon the recommendation of the director, so the director's going to recommend himself?
I see what you're saying.
Right.
All right,
Right.
never mind. It's a mess.
Okay, I'm okay with voting on taking out the word alone and then further discussing it.
Any further discussion on Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you give me a second? I'm taking a look at the notes, the minutes from October 19th, where there was much discussion to be had about why they added in deputy director and removed Department of Public Works. So
Very
Can
good.
you give me a second?
No problem.
So, the only thing that I see, I'll just read it verbatim on this. Town manager is the chief administrative officer and hires accordingly without council confirmation, except as stated in 424. This seems to be taken away from the town manager's authority and giving it to the council. If we look to change things, we must consider specifics. Who do we add to this section? All town employees or just certain departments? How do we differentiate by job title, education level, physical aptitude, and security? Do we include the library pages? It goes on. And then after much discussion, it was recommended to add the position of deputy director and remove Department of Public Works. So it looks like to me, I could be wrong here, recommendation of the director, fire department, let's see, upon recommendation of the director, a deputy director, and they strike out Department of Public Works, a finance. So basically, they made the changes in there. And basically giving the authority back to appointing authority to the town manager upon confirmation for that one position.
Okay.
And I know we're off on this subject, but
All right.
Mr. Manager.
And as Councilor Adams is reading that, my recollection is when I was invited and I was asked about this, I think what they were trying to do was eliminate the rank and file DPW directors being appointed so that the director would just appoint the number two, the second most senior person, and not the rest of the, the folks that would be either our heavy equipment operators, medium equipment operators, and laborers and such.
Council Lazo.
So the DPW director will appoint the deputy?
No, make the recommendation, the selection to recommend to me, and then I would then seek the confirmation from you folks.
Okay, I see.
Just like We do the police and fire that way, and then the DPW was also listed that way upon the recommendation of the director, the Department of Public Works. And I think what they were trying to say is, let's leave it the police and fire, and then the DPW director only make the recommendation on their assistant, the deputy.
Okay. Counselor Adams.
We're on this deputy director portion, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, there's much changes to be had, as there's been a lot of recommendations here recently for the DPW, from possibly changing this about a little bit. My recommendation is to leave it as is, written in the charter currently, as we probably in the near future may be discussing another avenue for the DPW from an engineering company, facilities person, stuff like that. So I would when we go back, we can always amend the charter as well. I'm not sure if it has to go to ballot, but I believe we can amend the charter. We don't have to wait 5 years, but we could do that and throw it on the ballot in the near future. So that's my recommendation right now, as we are kind of fluctuating on what we want to do when we grow up. Thank you.
So we would vote no on this then, right? And leave it the way it was, correct? Is that your recommendation?
Yeah, leave that motion right there. Leave it Department of Public Works. Leave the original
So we would
verbiage.
vote no on this?
No.
No, we would need a motion, because
So-
this was submitted by the Charter Review Committee. We would need a motion to delete the
Recommendation.
Charter Review Committee's recommendation and revert to the original language of the section.
I'll make that motion. You can still speak to it.
I would like to,
Is there a second on that?
yeah.
Right now, the motion is strictly to delete the word alone.
I'd like to just say something about that.
Okay.
Just about this
That's fine,
particular
I'll hold
motion.
off. Yep.
Go ahead.
Nobody seconded it.
So I offered to amend the word alone, and I think that it is an important distinction, aside from the conversation about the DPW piece. I think it is important to strike that word alone, because it isn't just merit that we want to evaluate and that we want our HR department to evaluate when candidates are coming forward. So I do think it's important, aside from the conversation about the DPW title, that we do vote on this particular amendment with just deleting the word alone.
And leave the rest alone. How's that sound?
Sure.
Councilor Montigny.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to amend agenda item number 33 to say, vote to amend the proposed town charter submitted by the Charter Review Committee by deleting the word alone and reverting to the original language of the Southbridge Home Rule Charter
As it
But-
pertains to.
Hold on.
Stepping out of this motion for a second, we want to leave town treasurer and collector in there and library director in there.
Yes.
And so we just revert back to, for the Department of Public Works, and strike the recommendation of Deputy Director of Public Works. It was a little jumbled at the end there, but I would like to add it there.
Is there a second?
For the sake of discussion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion
I
by,
understand
to
it.
amend by Councilor Montigny and a second by Councilor Steves to revert to the original language for that sentence regarding a Deputy Director of Public Works by striking that and reverting back to a Department of Public Works
Sounds good.
From section 424.
from
Yep.
section 424.
She looks like,
All right,
Get it
so
from the
that's the
recording.
amendment. That's the amendment.
I'll get it from the recording, don't worry.
All right.
And did someone second it?
All right, so we're discussing the amendment. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My recommendation is alleviate that. Even though they recommended, the Charter Review Committee recommended, didn't mean we had to vote on every single recommendation that they provided us, right? So if we want to leave it in there, we could just leave it in there. Somebody could tell me if I'm wrong, and that's okay, where we don't need this amendment. We should just be voting on the alone portion at this point in time. The other part, we took a look at it. We really didn't make any headway on it when at our council of the whole. Nobody recommended anything at that point in time, so leave it alone. We don't have to put this on the ballot question. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, I'm okay to be wrong at this point in time. Please let me know where I am. I say alleviate the amendment and just put alone, just worry about what's the agenda item right now in front of us. That's my recommendation. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Councilman Tigney.
Could we just put this on the next agenda and then deal with it then and as a separate motion? Because it's well ahead of time to make the ballot. The DPW language, is that something that makes sense, Mr.
Councilor
Chair?
Adams.
Or,
I will leave that up to the town council as a whole.
okay.
Thank you.
Well, there is an agenda item already on the floor to make those two changes.
We have an amendment on the
Right,
floor.
and it was put here today on the agenda specifically to vote on these items.
Right.
So
We have an
make a
amendment on the
decision instead
floor.
of sitting on it.
We have an amendment on the floor. As I said earlier, is there any further discussion on the amendment? Councilor Marquetti.
I kind of like his amendment because it kind of cleans it up, and it's exactly what we intend on doing. So if we don't do anything, then there's going to be some question. Did we want it in? Did we want to leave it in? Did we want to take it out? So I kind of like his amendment.
Okay, that's right.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Very good. All those in favor? All those against? Okay, 6-1. Chairman Daniel against. The amendment passes. So now we have an amended motion on the floor. Any further discussion on the motion as amended?
You want to read it again? Or?
Yeah, can we read that, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair?
I don't think so.
Some of us are not that,
Please.
really.
I think I could figure it
Vote
out.
to amend the proposed charter, town charter, submitted by the Charter Review Committee by deleting the word alone from section 424, and also deleting the words a deputy director of public works and reinstating the words a Department of Public Works.
Very good.
Are we doing discussion now?
Discussion.
Thank you. So you're forcing me right now to vote a certain way on two different items, right?
By the
So
amendment.
basically, if we say no, the word alone remains.
Yes, it does. That's true.
But at the same time, if you are for leaving the original language for the DPW and getting rid of deputy, and I say no, then it goes to deputy director.
That's true, too.
No, it was amended, so.
But he's right. That is how it would work.
He's not wrong.
That's how it works.
Okay, please tell me where I'm wrong.
No, he's not.
Mr. Chair.
May I?
Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. No, you're absolutely right that they've been combined, but based on, with all due respect, your words earlier about how it might benefit us to go back to reverting it. So it appears to me that we're all on the same page about both of these, the alone part and the DPW part. I thought you were. I was kind of supporting your idea. So I'm ready to vote yes on it. I'm not voting a separate way on each of them. Well,
All right.
thank you.
There you go.
Anyone else?
Well, no, I'm curious what Counselor Adams suggests we do then.
That's why, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
That's why I recommended separating the two, right? Because now you're making me go, I don't have a yes/no vote. I have a no or a yes vote. So I may have been for one area, but I may be against another area.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Okay.
So you're forcing me to make one vote, which I already know what that vote is in my head. I'll surprise you in a second. And then that's why I said separate the two. And I don't care. Like I said, it's up to the town council. I'm not trying to make this more difficult.
No, I
Just
don't
trying
have
to
a
keep
problem
it
with separating.
simplified.
I don't have a problem separating it. That's what you want to do.
Go ahead.
If I may,
Councilor Montigny.
Mr. Chair, through you, separating that would require a motion to suspend the rules to add an agenda item, and we already have an agenda item about 424. I see where your head's at now, but at least this pertains to 424. Like to separate it would motion to suspend the rules, which is a bit aggressive.
We haven't voted on it yet, so.
Council Lazo.
I think Council Adams is right. We should have separated it, voted on the alone, suspend the rules, and put in what you want to put in. You're amending a motion that actually is adding. It's almost like a substitute motion. You're changing the intent. So I see it as a confusing thing. I'm voting no. That's not the way it should go down. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Councilor Marquetti.
So I'm not a Robert's Rules of Order expert here, so any way you want to change this, I'm okay with it. If you want to suspend the rules, to split it, vote on one. We haven't even voted on the
No, there's a motion on the
agenda
floor
yet, so
as amended.
So you tell me what we can do according to Robert's rules. Can we withdraw the amendment? Can we withdraw the motion? You tell me. I'm not an expert.
Council Lazo.
The problem is you voted the amendment yes. If the amendment went down no, then you wouldn't have the amendment and you'd vote it separately.
Okay, I would like to rescind the amendment.
You'd have to vote to reconsider the amendment.
All right.
And it's happening at the next meeting.
There's no vote. Yeah, there's no vote.
There was no vote on the amendment.
What?
She says there's no
Oh, we
vote
voted
on
on the amendment, but not on the,
Oh, yes, we did.
we voted on the amendment.
6-1.
Oh, you're right.
6-1,
I'm
Daniel's
sorry.
against.
I'm so sorry.
Because
You're
Daniels
right,
was
you're
smarter
right.
than us.
Sorry. My apologies. Chairman?
I propose a motion.
We have a motion on the floor already.
We have a motion on the floor right now as
If you don't want
amended.
it, vote no. If you want it, vote yes.
Yep.
Move the question.
Did someone move the question?
You moving the question?
Unless we want, I mean, because this is getting ridiculous. I'm sorry. Let's
Well,
move the question.
I voted against it. All right, we have a motion on the floor as amended. Roll call vote.
Counselor Adams?
No.
Counselor Daniel?
No.
Counselor Lazo?
No.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Montigny?
Yes.
Counselor Rivas?
Yes.
And Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-3. Item number 34, vote to amend the proposed town charter submitted by the Charter Review Committee by rewriting 425 and 426 and creating a new 425 to read as follows. Section 425, the town manager shall, within 12 months of the start of their employment, be a resident of the town of Southbridge and shall not cease to be a resident during their employment by the town. The town council may, by a majority vote of 5 councilors, waive this requirement, but must revisit such a vote annually.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Steves, second by Councilor Adams. Discussion. Councilor Steves.
Yeah, I know I originally proposed some of this, the second line for this one, and I was looking at it and thinking about it a couple of days ago, and I was thinking that I think we actually need to change that line because it occurred to me that if we were to allow the waiver for like a year or two, what would happen if we decided to rescind the waiver? Would he suddenly be forced to get an apartment like immediately? Would there be a timeline for that? So I was thinking of adding text to say that if the council opts to rescind said waiver, the manager will be required to get an apartment within 6 months or something like that, whatever the council feels is appropriate, or within some time frame. Because you can't suddenly require them to say, oh, by the way, you have to sell your house now. That's just not fair at all. And I should have thought of that originally, but I didn't think of it at the time.
Councilor Lazo.
To the motion, I mean, there was no second on the
Well, I was kind of throwing it out there at the moment,
Okay.
like
I
a
seconded.
conversation.
Oh, you did?
If
Okay.
you'd like me to make a
So I
motion
gotta speak to
specifically,
the
I will.
amendment. I'll pass.
Wait, was there a motion on
No,
the
no,
amendment?
Would you like,
No,
would
there
you
was
like
no
me to?
amendment.
There
There
was
was
no
no
amendment.
amendment.
Okay, I will make a motion to amend that to add a third sentence to say that if the council opts to rescind said waiver, the manager will be required to find residents in the town within 6 months?
What's your pleasure, Counselor? 6 months or whatever?
Let's say 6 months for now, for something to work with.
We have a motion to amend. Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Discussion, okay.
Second by Counselor Rivas. Discussion on the amendment.
Okay, I just wanted to say,
Council Steves.
I figure we either have to do that or we have to strike the waiver line, one or the other.
Well, you made a motion to amend, so.
Yes, I did.
Strike the waiver.
Counselor Lazo, then Counselor Montigny.
If I may go back in time, originally, if you wanted to be the town manager of Southbridge, you bought a house or moved into town. Jack Howley built a new house. Peter Boyer lived in Southbridge, he bought a house. Jacobs bought a house. Florence Chandler bought a condo. Those were the early days with 13 councilors, a rock-solid setup. And I thought that having a residency here, living here, would be an asset to the community, driving on the streets, shopping in the stores. It was one of the things that was great about that back in the day, because everybody the department heads were all lived in Southbridge. They all took residency in Southbridge. And it was one community serving and living locally. Something changed over the years. Somehow they think there's a white horse coming in from out of town that's going to save us. So on the residency, I'm not going to vote in favor of the amendment, but I will offer a different amendment on the actual, after we end up dealing with this First Amendment. But I don't know why everybody's so afraid of residency. It was showed one of the strongest things that we had. Our fire department response time, the bell would ring and everybody lived in town, they came in. Now they're down in Connecticut and they're everywhere. They don't answer the bell. It's the same 5 guys that live in town that cover a fire station. So when you look at our different departments and stuff, you can make a sales pitch for living out of town, like economically you can't. You can economically draw pay out of Southbridge, but you economically can't live in Southbridge. I just have a hard time with that. I probably always will. Thank you.
Counselor Montigny.
Thank you. If I heard one of the previous speakers correctly, did you say you were interested in just striking the waiver language altogether?
Well, we could do it either way.
Because
we have to do one or the other to avoid conflict.
If it would make everybody feel more comfortable, because I do agree with Councilor Lazo, you could withdraw the amendment and we could just make an amendment to strike the waiver completely. The line where it says the town council may by majority vote of 5 councilors waive this requirement but must revisit such a vote annually. I think we should just strike it. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Anyone else? Counselor Rivas.
I wouldn't be in favor of just striking it. I do think that, while I do agree it would be amazing to have everybody living in town, we live in the real world of today, 2022, and it is difficult to find qualified people. I think our town manager and our HR department they're doing a good job of trying to hire people from our town. But I do think that having that waiver, just in case we have a great candidate that we all really want, but for some reason they can't live in town, they can't sell their house, I think it's just a safety net to have that sort of living, again, in the real world in 2022 we don't want to box ourselves into a corner. I think it's reasonable, and I do appreciate the amendment, because I do think that people need time. We're not, like, this isn't just in a vacuum. We're dealing with real people and with real people's lives, so.
Anyone else speaking to the amendment? Council Lazo.
I'm a Southbridge First guy. I'm not worried about the guy from Charlton or California. When you advertise $100 and some odd $1,000 position and you expect them to live in your community, that's not a big task. Unless you care about somebody traveling from another town and you just want them to live way out there and you pay the travel and you pay for everything, taxpayers of Southbridge take the hit again. So for me, I mean, if we're going to have a waiver, make it a 2/3 vote. Make it more difficult to waive, because I'm not in favor of the waiver at all. But the thing is, as a compromise, if we had a 2/3 vote to try and help somebody get a place for a longer period of time, that's fine. I think that you have to leave that up to the next council. We always try and write everything in where nobody has to think. This will be written perfect, and they'll just do as they're told when the time comes. I say with no waiver, you make a commitment to this community or you don't. I mean, Florence Chandler was here the longest. Probably a high-quality manager. I was chairman of the search when we hired her. She moved into Southbridge. She even was a selectman in another community. She was a selectman, an elected official. She asked the town council, let me finish my term and I'll take residency here. They allowed it. One of the best town managers we've ever had. She made a total commitment to the town of Southbridge. She moved here. Jack Howley moved from New York or one of the states, built a house here, made a commitment to Southbridge. This is how we have to think. If you want to worry about somebody else from out of town, I'm a human being and I think we should be fair. But we need to lay down the law as a government saying, Southbridge first, live here. If you don't want to live here, why do you want to work here? Well, that's my point. It was a decline of a lot of things in town is when people just didn't work here anymore. They worked here, but they didn't live here. They're not vested. And don't make believe they are. Thank you.
Anyone else speaking to the amendment? Councilor Rivas.
Through you, Mr. Chair, but even in that scenario, we gave Florence Chandler some time to move in. So I do think that, you're making the point to having the waiver, to allowing people some time to be able to do that. We want people to be committed to Southbridge, but we also want to work with them. When you found a qualified candidate like Florence Chandler, you worked with her. If you didn't have that in the amendment, then we couldn't. We'd just have to say, no, sorry, we can't hire you.
Councilor Steves.
Thank you. Just to dovetail off of what Councilor Lazo said a few minutes ago, just to kind of turn it around and think about it, while I understand your point about trying to encourage people to live and work in town and be loyal to our community, I agree with that. Obviously, we all live in this town. And I think one of the things that we need to be doing is to be promoting the community and as a community and the strength that we promote. And sometimes to kind of twist what you just said around, there's an awful lot of people in our community who just live here just as a bedroom and they don't stay here, they don't contribute to our community. It would be nice to see a lot of people get more involved. I'm not saying necessarily the people that work for our town, obviously they work for the town. But there's an awful lot of people that barely spend any time in our community, but they call it home, technically. I would like to see a lot of people to get more involved in our community. I think we're on the same page with that. But I think when it comes to doing this particular item, and I do want to make a distinction, because some of what you were saying was talking about other town departments, which is actually the next agenda item, not this one. But I think that when we try to set up something as important as making sure that we have a good, qualified, dedicated town manager, and the current town manager is dedicated to our community. He comes from long distance to be here. But it's also an issue of people who work for our community often are, they have families elsewhere. They may have kids in schools elsewhere. And it's understandable that they wouldn't want to completely upend their family's connections to wherever they are. And how many cases where if we were not in a situation of dealing with town government, how many people would actually make the effort to move to some other place to get their job if they could stay in a reasonable commuting distance? Many of them would stay home. Some people wouldn't, but that's just kind of thoughts, thinking about this. That's one of the reasons why I threw this waiver amendment out there, to give people a chance, because we know that the town council changes on a regular basis. And we could easily see a situation where somebody who's had a waiver for a year or two might have a completely different council in front of them, and they decide to end the waiver, but then the person who's in that office, it's not fair to suddenly force them, either to force them out or force them to jump into a place that turns into a slum. Find the least the first house that they can grab, which may not be a good place. If that made any sense.
Councilman Tigney.
This is just about one employee and not everybody in town. It's also, in terms of giving someone enough time to move in, I think 12 months is enough. I still say strike the whole thing. I can understand that 6 votes is a good compromise, but it's just one employee. At least with this agenda item, we're not talking about making everybody in the world move here. It's one employee, a chief employee, the highest paid employee. And then they're giving him 12 months. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask, strike the waiver, or at least make it 6 votes. Thank you.
Anyone else speaking to the amendment? Very good. The amendment reads, I believe, if the council opts to rescind said waiver, the town manager would have 6 months to find a residence in town.
Could you repeat that one more time?
If council opts to rescind said waiver, the town manager has 6 months to find a residence in town. Okay, roll call on the amendment.
Let's see. Counselor Daniel.
No.
Counselor Lazo.
No.
Counselor Marchetti.
No.
Counselor Montigny.
No.
Counselor Rivas.
Yes.
Counselor Ryan. I'm sorry, Steves. Counselor Steves.
Yes.
And Counselor Adams.
No.
The amendment fails, 2 votes to 5. Back to the original agenda item, as stated in number 34. Any further discussion? Councilor Lazo.
I'd like to make an amendment, if we're not going to strike the vote for the requirement. Oh, wait a minute. No, I wanted to make that, instead of a majority of 5, to make it 2/3.
6 or 2/3? 6.
Do you want to do it here?
Number 6, yeah.
All right.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to change the word 5 and the number 5 to the word 6 and the number 6.
Instead of majority, it would be 2/3.
Yeah.
Councilor Marchetti, sorry.
It's a tongue twister, I know. There's too many mics.
Too many M's, yeah.
Too many M's, yeah. So, to be clear here, you want a supermajority, because 6 is a supermajority of the council. 2/3, we could have 6 councilors here, and 2/3 would be less than 6. So, just to make it clear, you want a supermajority, correct? 6 counselors, that means there has to be
Correct. That's why you put the number 6.
So if there were only 5 counselors here, we wouldn't be able to do it.
It has to be of the council,
Okay.
not majority.
Just
It
wanna
says,
Yep,
by putting the number there,
yep.
By a vote of 6 councilors.
Strike the word majority, just a vote of 6.
Yep, okay.
Okay.
Can you read that motion again, the amendment, please?
Counselor Lazo moved to change the word 5 to the word 6 votes for the waiver.
So you would have to strike the word majority as well, I guess.
yeah, majority has to be stricken from that. When you change it to number 6, it's no longer the majority.
To clarify, then, what you're trying to do is the town council made by a vote of 6 councilors waive. Blah, blah.
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
6 councilors,
That's what you're saying.
not the majority of what's there.
So strike the word majority and insert the word 6 instead of, substitute the word 6 instead of 5.
Yes.
All right. Any further discussion on that amendment? Very well, roll call.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Montigny?
Yes.
Counselor Rivas?
No.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
What'd you say?
Yes. Counselor Adams?
No.
Counselor Daniel?
No.
And Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
I missed the vote. What's the vote tally?
It passed. Three opposed.
3 opposed, 4-4?
It's,
Okay. Amendment passes. I missed one somewhere in there.
Yeah.
All right, so the agenda item now has been modified. It's been amended. Any discussion on the agenda item as amended? Councilor Montigny.
I'd like to make a motion to add for employees hired after July 1st, 2023. It was, well, I'll just leave the motion first.
I'm sorry, what's the date?
July 1st, 2023.
This clause shall apply to those managers hired after July 1st, 2023.
Yes, that's the motion I'd like to make.
Okay. All right. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Montigny and a second by Councilor Lazo.
So this is a second amendment.
Yes, and if I could clarify, there was given to us by the town council, I believe, the lawyer, said that we had to deal with the specifications on the transition. Again, if you were to just do this for the next agenda item 2 with department heads, if that were to pass, then you'd have to just suddenly force everybody to live here. And I think that they wanted us, the legal opinion was that we should make a decision on grandfathering those employees in this clause or not. And I do believe that the town manager, in terms of this one, should be grandfathered in this agenda item.
Any further discussion on this amendment? Councilor Steves.
I agree with your reasoning. That makes perfectly good sense. The one question I was just curious about, although it says July 1st of 23, would we want it to be, instead of that specific date, would we want it to be as what the date that the legislature approves it after we voted on it? Because it won't be law on July 1st of 23.
Yeah, it won't be.
No, it won't be.
Even if we do vote on it in June, at best we might see it in July of 24, maybe, depending on how long the legislature takes to do anything. Or maybe we could phrase it as shall apply to managers hired after the final approval of this charter change or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what the formal requirement would be to phrase it would be, but I think, do you understand my point?
I think I do. to changing the verbiage? Or would you rather stay with what you have?
I just want to do what's right. I think we all agree
Yeah,
that the lawyer has instructed us to take care of this matter.
So we can say that,
I know that there were dates in the last charter for things that were, when they went to 9-person council from 13, when they made the charter, there's all these different dates. There's even some cleanup in the recommendations from the committee this year to strike a bunch of notes about, past dates and when things went into effect. So that's where I went with making the motion as a date, because there were old dates from, 2002 in the last one, so I felt the date might be okay. We have to do something to grandfather.
I agree with you.
Right.
I agree. Just trying to see.
Council Lazo.
Once we vote this in and this takes immediate, once it's done, it clears the State House and the Attorney General and the ballot, this will be the charter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the only thing that you have to add is anybody hired prior to the approval of this charter
After the,
is grandfathered in.
oh, yeah, right.
That works.
Shall apply to managers. Well, in this case, we'd say shall apply to managers hired after the approval of this charter.
Right.
So,
Okay, hold on. Councilor Adams.
thank you, Mr. Chair. You could put in there upon the approval of the state, right? Just remember this, is that if you're hiring a new town manager, you could put that in a part of your requirement.
Absolutely.
So just to cover the charter upon the state's approval.
Right.
But if we were looking for another town manager, in the meantime, we could always take a look at that and put that into the requirements.
Absolutely. So if I could withdraw my motion
Certainly.
to change the language to, would you like to make it to Councilor Adams or Lazo, either of you?
I don't know if it needs any language. Because when this charter hits the ground and it is documented and approved, it's it.
True, that's true.
They need to
I think
grandfather.
what Councilor Montigny was talking about was anybody that is currently are
Oh, yeah, I agree.
in place. I think our intent is genuine that, no, we will not interrupt anybody's life.
Right.
But once this hits the ground, anything hired after this approval, which we don't really know that date.
So
So I'm not sure if there is any language that you want to put in there outside of once this lands, it is what it is. If you wanted language, you would have to say, anybody hired before the date of this approval of this document will be grandfathered in.
So moved.
But we don't have to do that, though, because like he said, I'm sorry.
Right, I mean,
I didn't mean to speak.
when this document lands, it's done, this is the law.
Right.
Does it need to be changed? Because you can't do post facto law anyway.
I don't think we need it.
I don't think it needs to be
Just let it
changed.
go. Are you withdrawing?
Councilor Adams.
I'm in agreement with Councilor Lazo. No verbiage change on this.
All right, so we have no amendment. The amendment was withdrawn.
Okay.
We're going to let it stand. So we go now to item number 34 again. Councilor Marquetti.
I just want to add that I am fully in favor of this because I want people who work here to drive the same roads that I'm driving, to pay the same taxes that I'm paying, to see what's going on in this town, the same things that we are going through when we're living in this town. So that's why I'm in fully favor of this. Thank you.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Though I may not be in favor of the other items below, I am in favor of this one. I do believe the chief administrator should understand and feel that the pluses and the minuses of our town, and I do believe that town managers should be held to a little bit of a higher standard when they come to the town seeking a job. I just will state this, is that many of us have worked out of town, and our employments were out of town. So I'll address that at the next agenda item. Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Maureen.
So patient.
Hi, Maureen Doyle, 771 Lebanon
Thank you,
Hill.
George.
I just wanted to say, regardless of the employee, think of the taxpayers. All this tax money is going towards these exorbitant salaries, or whatever salaries, and we have a lot of problems to address in this town. So all that money is going out. That person lives out of town, so yeah, they may buy lunch or something here or whatever, but think of our tax base. You know, we're all paying taxes and it just goes out of town. So, thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you for waiting. Okay. We have a vote. A vote coming up on the agenda item as amended. Roll call vote.
Counselor Lazo.
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti.
Yes.
Counselor Montigny.
Yes.
Counselor Rivas.
Yes.
Counselor Steves.
Yes.
Counselor Adams.
Yes.
Counselor Daniel.
No. Motion passes 6-1 as amended. Item number 35, vote to amend the proposed town charter submitted by the Charter Review Committee by adding the following to the new, which was previously passed, 425 as follows. Insert "and department heads" after town manager.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Montigny. Discussion. Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. If this were to pass and there's no language changed regarding grandfathered in, I just want to be sure that if this were passed, that current employees would still be safe. If that's the intent, then I'm going to vote yes. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Rivas.
Well, I agree with the last item, and I do think that the town manager is to be held at a different standard. I think that, I mean, just considering the struggle we've had in attracting people, I do think that I would not be in favor of making the same requirement of the department heads at this time.
Councilor Lazo.
Again, this is condoning a transient population running your town. We have well-qualified people in the police department, up into the management that live in Southbridge. We have well-qualified people in the fire department. In the last appointment, we had local candidates in for the chief's job, and it ended up going out of town. We can turn around and talk about our DPW. We have qualified. There are people that want to come up into the ranks. We just don't. We don't have a. We don't work on a farm team. It's always transient. We had a call fire department. Okay, we have people that are actually callmen. We had our call department devastated by one chief from Webster. Then we had a new chief come in, and he wanted to revitalize the farm team, so to speak, which is the on-call men. And then the on-call men weren't even considered for the last positions. We hired guys from Leicester and Oxford. So the local preference changes the whole scheme in Southbridge if it happens that way. But in the past, we've lost good local people to surrounding towns because of the lack of promotion from within. And everybody, again, thinks the guy's coming in with the white horse to save Southbridge. When people are going to save Southbridge, it's Southbridge. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Councilor Rivas. We shortchange ourselves again on this, and I understand where Councilor Lazo is bringing up. I completely do. But we would miss those opportunities, the most qualified individuals out there, the ones that have that experience or whatever it may be. And it's okay for them to come in, as many of us have done in the past, of working in different towns and situations. And I think that's just unfair. And I understand where even Councilor Montigny had stated about it wouldn't be the current department heads. I don't know how those department heads would even feel listening to that. But I would say this is I'm completely opposed to this. I hope the council votes no on this portion of it. I think it does nothing but shortchange our town for other opportunities. And you know what? I want the best competition. And I will say this, is if people are qualified, they'll come in here and they're qualified. If they're not qualified for the jobs, then they're not qualified for the jobs. So I'm all about saying no on this one. Thank you very much.
All right, we got a line here. Councilor Montigny, then Marquetti, then Rivas.
Thank
And
you.
then Lazo.
Thank you. Just to clarify, as I was mentioned by the previous speaker, when it comes to current department heads, I would like them to be protected from this clause. I don't know if anybody misinterpreted that. But maybe there would be more people from town that would apply for these jobs if they knew it was a job that only people from Southbridge could have, or people that have to move to Southbridge could have. Maybe there are people that don't even think that they'd be in the running because of how many different people would be applying. So I think it could actually spark some more interest, and you might find candidates. And I have mentioned in the past that the intangible of having your heart attached to Southbridge sometimes, in most cases, is more important than some of the other skills that come along. I'm not talking about someone who's completely unqualified to do the job, but maybe somebody who has 5 years of experience versus 15, but they live in town. I think that would outweigh the 15 years of experience. In my opinion, this town needs that heart. But again, as long as everybody who works here now is safe and sound, I'll be voting yes. Thank you.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Although I am fully in favor of this one as well, I think we may be running into problems when it comes to the fire department and the police department, because I believe the state law says that they do not have to live in this town. They can live, a 15-mile radius.
Yep.
So I'm not sure.
That is true.
Don't quote me on that. Maybe the town manager might know a little bit about that. So that's the only problem that I think we might face here with making it so vague that all department heads. Although I would like to see that as well, but that's my only concern. Thank you.
Councilor Rivas.
And while I think that this sort of ties our hands, I think that I don't just necessarily disagree with the previous speakers. I think we should promote people from within our town. We should have development of people that are local and market our positions. And I think that our town is doing that much better now than it was in the past or the recent past. I think if we look at our police department, Chief Woodson has an incredible model with cops and kids really growing from, students who participate in the program to police officers now who are from our community who were students in that program. So it can be done without tying our hands in this particular way when it comes to department heads. I think it's at a different level, and it is a really difficult market out there right now. And I do think that competition is going to give us better candidates. And if someone is qualified and they have the skills, 100%, I do believe that we should hire someone from our own community.
Councilor Lazo.
History is probably our best teacher, and in the promotional world, when we promoted a gentleman from Webster to the chief's position at the fire department, the gentleman devastated our department as far as the rank and file call department. He was not qualified. It was a political appointment. A gentleman from Southbridge ended up leaving Southbridge, going to Charlton, being a deputy chief, and prospering in another town because of the lack of local preference. Then we go on to the next appointment once that gentleman leaves, and we have a local guy overqualified on paper, firefighter 1, firefighter 2. What does Southbridge do because of a lack of a local preference to the guy that lives on Morris Street? We give it to a paramedic from Leicester. Again, I'm not saying we can have anybody work here. We work together, we work hard. But the thing is, when they take your vehicle and they drive it 4 towns over on your dime, and when they come to Southbridge, they do the best job they can, I get it, but the most qualified guy doesn't always get the job, and history has taught us that. That's why I'm stubborn about this. I'm a Southbridge guy, I bleed red and white. Nobody is going to believe in this more than I do, because I served on a council when everybody lived here and served here. And it was a much better community then than it is now with a transient population at the employment at the top. So for myself, people can disagree. Don't be mad at us. And I'm just a Southbridge pride guy. I'm going to live here, die here, go to school here, whatever it is, and I'm going to serve on this council. I get along with everybody up here, but this is one subject. This comes from my heart and my brain, and experience has taught me the local preference will always work better than the guy from 10 towns over. Thank you.
Council Steves.
Listening to what everybody else is saying, and I can totally understand what you were just saying, Councilor Laza. Although I do want to point out that sometimes, even if you were to have a local preference, the most qualified guy won't necessarily always get the job. Especially if we had approved that previous agenda item of allowing the council to force somebody in that the manager doesn't want, or the rest of that doesn't seem to be qualified. That could be the same issue whether they're local or not. I am not. I agree with what Councilor Rivas was saying, is that the issue really comes down to promoting, a lot of it is promoting within, I agree with that. And one of the things that maybe we could do to help promote a greater interest in town jobs and town government and in general would be to do a lot more working with the high schools. Get our kids into civics, because the civics program is pretty abysmal and has been for a long time. And that's not just a Southbridge thing, that's across the board pretty much. You want to get people involved in our government, we need to start getting people at the youngest level, get them as volunteers, get them involved as participating on the basis. I mean, look at the room we're in here. Quite frankly, almost everybody in this room is older than me. And we need we should have younger people on those chairs paying attention to how democracy works. And those are the people that would have enabled back the years you were talking about, Councilor Lazo, about when the town had a lot of commitment from the people who lived here, involved in town jobs and stuff like that. Part of that was because it was that kind of development was happening, and it isn't today. It starts much, much younger than they would ever be able to apply for a job here. So as it is now, I think our town needs to have the most qualified people. If they are local, great. Okay? But sometimes they're not. And several other people we've seen who are doing so much for our community right now are unfortunately not. It would be nice if they were, but they're not. But they're still devoting a lot to our town. And I don't want to cut that off.
Councilor Adams.
Just to follow up, I know we're going around in circles here a little bit, but I will state this. I'm not going to try to lambast our current employees. I don't think that's fair to them at all. At the time, and I was there at those meetings when we brought some of the individuals in. But I will state this. We had a town manager who almost broke us financially. We had an accountant who broke us financially. And I believe the charter actually changed because of them. And they did move. I do know at least one of them who moved here for a time being and then quickly moved out when they were no longer here. We had a town accountant who I believe lived here and then quickly moved to Florida right after that. We had a town manager who left here and quickly moved to Florida. Maybe that was a requirement back then for them to come in here. But I will tell you, sometimes if there's a treasurer out in Southbridge, we're looking for a treasurer. Please apply. If we're looking for some of these other positions, please apply here in Southbridge. This is what we'd like to see that. But I just have to disagree. And out of respect for those that are for this, I do respect your points of view and the heart and passion that you do have. I just happen to disagree with that. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Very good. Roll call vote.
Counselor Montigny.
Yes.
Counselor Rivas.
Wait.
No,
It's me.
I said Montigny.
Montigny,
Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, we can start with you.
Yep.
I'm sorry. So Montigny.
Yes.
Counselor Rivas.
No.
Counselor Ryan. Steve, sorry.
No. It's getting late.
It's getting late. Counselor Steve?
No.
No. Counselor Adams?
No.
Counselor Daniel?
No.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Motion fails 3-4. Item number 36, vote to amend the proposed town charter submitted by the Charter Review Committee by adding the following to the new 425. Should a candidate have been raised in Southbridge but no longer lives in the town, the residency requirement, as stated earlier, may similarly be waived as for the town manager.
Mr. Chairman, is this even relevant considering our votes in the last couple of questions? I move we pass over this.
It's irrelevant. Yeah. It's moot.
The next two are both irrelevant.
They're moot.
I know 37 is, but 36, that was your
Just give them a waiver.
amendment.
Huh? 36 wasn't, no, this is specifically, this was talking about amending for town staff, where we just rejected the town staff.
36 goes?
36 is irrelevant, 37 is
All
irrelevant.
right, I'll take a motion to indefinitely postpone 36 and 37.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to indefinitely postpone items number 36 and 37. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 38, vote to amend the proposed town charter by the Charter Review Committee by deleting the word council and inserting the word attorney throughout Chapter 7 so as to create consistency within the chapter.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Council Steves, a second by Council Rivas. Any discussion? Council Steves.
Yeah, this was something I was proposing just simply for clarification, just to clean it up because it was inconsistent. So it's nothing special for this one.
Very good.
Not nearly controversial. I hope.
Anyone else? Very good. Roll call.
Let's see, where do we start this time? Counselor Rivas.
Yes.
Counselor Steves.
Yes.
Counselor Adams.
Yes.
Counselor Daniel.
Yes.
Counselor Lazo.
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti.
Yes.
And Counselor Montigny.
Yes.
7-0 motion passes. Item number 39, vote to amend the proposed town charter submitted by the Charter Review Committee by reverting to the original language of the Southbridge Home Rule Town Charter and disregarding any proposed changes to Section 10.12.1.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Montigny, second by Councilor Lazo. Discussion. Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. I just wanted to, we spoke a lot about this at the town council, the whole meeting. I wanted to say that I appreciate the support from that meeting because it's very important. I think that it should be reverted back, and I'll be voting yes. Thank you.
Councilor Rivas.
Can we just review what the amendment was very quickly?
It's about the transfers.
10.12.1, it's about the transfers, which says that town council may adopt policies and procedures with regards to limitations on such transfers pursuant to the provisions of Section 242 of the Charter. The town manager may, upon recommendation of the finance director, may transfer part or all of any unencumbered appropriation balance among programs within a department, office, or agency.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know we talked long and hard on this one, and I actually am voting to amend it to its original language. That's all based on the fact that a few years back, as I mentioned before, there was a policy that was set in place that had been approved by legal, and because of that and that precedence, it was set for almost 2 years, I believe it was. I will be bringing a motion to the table with a transfer policy after the new year. Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. Roll call.
Counselor Steve, I knew that. Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
No.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Montigny?
Yes.
And Counselor Rivas?
No.
5-2, the motion passes. Item number 40, vote to amend the proposed town charter submitted by the Charter Review Committee by reverting to original language of the Southbridge Home Rule Town Charter and disregarding any proposed change to the section 12.3.3. That's the petition charter section. I believe Councilor Marquetti would like to address that first.
I'm sorry, who?
Second.
I made the motion.
A second.
Makes a motion and a second. Marquetti makes the motion. Montigny makes the second. Councilor Marquetti.
The reason for this one is because the way the language was changed, if somebody goes out and gets a petition to put something on the ballot, they're forced, the way it was changed, they're forced to go out and get the petition, the same amount of signatures.
Yeah.
So they're forced to get two petitions for one ballot question. So that's why I thought it was unfair, and I wanted to revert. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, roll call vote.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Montigny?
Yes.
Counselor Rivas?
Yes.
And Counselor Steves?
Yes.
7-0 motion passes. Reverting to language. Thank you, councilors. Item number 41, Council's Forum. Let's start over here today. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to say I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, whatever your holiday is. I wish you the best holiday spirit for the coming year. Thank you. That's all I have.
Very good. Councilor Montigny.
Thank you very much. I just want to say thank you to Phil at DPW for cleaning up the res ahead of what I'm hoping will be a cold winter. And all the people at the DPW during this time where there is no DPW director, the staff, Phil and Glenn, they're just outstanding, and they did do a great job on the plowing of the first storm. I also wanted to just show everybody that I got this book from my grandmother for Christmas. It's a 1942 Southbridge Evening News Almanac. So I'll be having some fun with this on my Facebook. There's advertisements on every page of old 80 years ago, all the different things we had in town. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, in the back, you even have recipes that were submitted by people from town. I see the Dubriel family here. I see one from Miss D.W. Anderson. She's got an apple pie recipe, but then she also has one for blueberry upside-down pudding. And I know that my great-grandmother, who used to go to church in Southbridge, made a blue ribbon blueberry pie at the Woodstock Fair. So maybe you could combine some of these and try to see what you come up with, because, you know, she was around the same age in 1942, you know, so blueberries. But yeah, thank you for everybody attending all these meetings all the time, staying late. I know this one went a little earlier than I intended, which is great. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
I'd like to wish my fellow councilors, town manager, and their families a very Merry Christmas, and to the public, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I, too, would like to just comment on the DPW with the ice and snow, and we had a couple of storms, and that AO sidewalk was done in record time. I sit back and I look at it, whether it's the roof, the sidewalk, it seems like DPW with less management runs better now than it ever has. And I give Glenn a lot of credit, Butch Jackson, but that guy named Phil, he comes to meetings, he gives you a straight answer, and then he gets it done. Now, I know he doesn't do it by himself. I know we have a manager working hand in hand with him, and I know we have a rank and file foot soldiers, boots on the ground at DPW. I mean, all town hall employees, I'm sure they all work hard, but I just can't believe the difference in the short period of time at DPW. Maybe it's the chairman of the subcommittee. I don't know. But I want to say thank you very much to our town hall employees and a special Merry Christmas to them and a Happy New Year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councilor Rivas.
So a couple of things. So I wanted to mention, I know we talked about a little bit earlier, it was very relevant to my announcement, and about civic engagement and having youth engaged. And so I want to let everyone know that starting in January, I'll be working with the cable access staff and producing a show called Youth Voices with Councilor Rivas. And we're looking for students in middle and high school, residents of Southbridge. It doesn't matter what school you go to, as long as you're a resident of Southbridge, who are interested in being part of this show, for our students to talk about a lot of the issues that we're talking about here. As town councilors, we really want to hear youth voices and youth perspective on all of these different things that we discuss and we debate. We are excited to have students here in the dais and in the town, in the chamber, in the council chamber, really getting their voices heard. So if you're interested, contact the cable access department. You can contact me. I can get you a permission slip for your parents to fill out. And again, middle high school students, and we will be looking for about 8 to 10 students who will be joining me once a month. So looking forward to that. I'd like to say happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, feliz Navidades a los que celebran en su casa, y feliz año nuevo a todos. And just keeping in mind, like, during the holidays, sometimes it's really tough for a lot of people. A lot of people are having hardships. And to kind of like, as a community, we should be looking out for our neighbors, making sure that people are okay, checking in on, older people that are your neighbors, and young people and families, and seeing if people have needs that you can help them with. We have a lot of social services in our community. I'm not going to name them all, but certainly checking in through the town website. I know the town manager posts a lot of different resources for the community there. But this is a time where our community should be coming together and taking care of people who might need a little bit extra help. Thank you.
What's that? Very good. Councilor Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to say that whatever you celebrate out there, secular or religious, enjoy the holidays. And it doesn't really matter how you do it, as long as you bring yourself together and bring people together and your friends and family, and just enjoy. I think it's just that time. We don't need to do any extra nonsense this time. Just be with people.
That's it. Great. Vice Chair Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I've got a few things. Our next ARPA meeting is scheduled for January 12th, 4 p.m. Right here upstairs at near the town manager's office. So we have a few things coming that way. I was also asked by our prior recording clerk, Mary Darling, just wanted to let everybody know, be able to announce that she is holding open auditions for her play On Our Farm at Starlight, January 7th, from 1 to 4 in person or 4 to 5 in Zoom. Anyone interested can contact me at marydarling6@gmail.com or follow me on social media for more information. The show will be performed at Starlight on March 31st, April 1st, and April 2nd. So it's good to see her doing really, really well in her field. Also, Rules and Regulations meeting, I'll set that up with Councilor Lazo and Councilor Dow very soon so we can get this over to the Town Council for a vote or, and discussion. I wanted to thank and congratulate the HR department on the Wellness Award that you received, the most progress in wellness. I believe that's the award. So congratulations to you and your team. And Ms. Dean asked me to reach out to everybody, let her know that the ARPA committee had given the economic development team $250,000 for small businesses here in town. Starting tomorrow, the application will be online on the town's website. She wanted to also let everybody know that she'll be sending it out to the Southbridge business partners, the Chamber of Commerce, and local business holders in the morning, starting tomorrow. So we gave $250,000 to help small businesses in town. Thank you to the council for doing that. So it's been a long time coming, and good to see that happening. Lastly, wanted to wish everybody happy holidays, and everybody set it up here, so I wanted to convey that too, because I didn't want to be the odd man out. But the Family Health Center of Worcester update, myself and RMG in Harrington met this morning. We're still working on the plan as the Family Health Center of Worcester has left the town of Southbridge. That deal, we'll probably see some more emails coming and posted on the social media page as I reach out to Secretary Sutters, Congressman Neal, and a few others as they are starting to help us a little bit find our pathway to help our town when it comes to medical issues that we have here. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Next meeting is scheduled for January 9th, 2023 at 7 p.m. here in the council chambers.
Very good. Mr. Manager?
I'd be remiss if I didn't get the opportunity to wish everybody happy holidays, especially the council members, their families, those in the audience, and those at home. But I also want to let you know, during the meeting, I did correspond with Mr. Moore over at Harrington Hospital, and he had indicated that their facilities had determined there was some issues with the heating, as well as other issues in the building on 663 Main Street, where AA is held, where the person at Citizens Forum came up. They said currently, due to the safety of the building and some of the repairs, they're not sure what the future of the building is, that they had notified everybody a couple of weeks ago that they were going to be closing the building for safety reasons. They haven't made a long-term decision as to what they're doing, but it is true. They were given some notice, but nevertheless, I will follow up on Mr. Chenier's recommendation, see what we can find out, and get back to that woman. So,
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Item number 43, vote to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A. Purpose number 1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health, rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. Councilor Adams.
Mr. Chair, request to amend this, to postpone this to January 9th.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to postpone this agenda item until January 9th. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Council Marquetti is against. 6-1, the motion passes. That's it. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. 7-0, we're adjourned.
Oh, who seconded?